All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Mashpee School Committee meeting of September 12th, 2018. I'm going to call the meeting to order at 6:30 p.m. and we're here in the newly renovated, beautiful Mashpee Washington Library. Glad to be back. First order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next item will be public comment. Do we have any public?
Yes. Sorry. Oh, that's my job. Sorry, Kathy.
Oh.
Kathy is
Okay.
unwell and
Oh,
is going to
okay.
be the secretary.
Kathy. All right, well, thank you. I appreciate it. And now that I have this sheet, Dan Patton, you're the first.
You want to wait until you came on the agenda with the...
Yeah, so you are on the agenda, so if you want to speak about it then, it's up to you. If you want to.
It's okay with you?
Absolutely.
That?
Yeah.
Okay. I think the other two that are on there would prefer that also.
Oh, yep, baseball, yep, actually, yeah, these are all for the baseball trip, so if you want to wait, if you're okay with that, otherwise, feel free to speak now. Okay, all right, thank you. All right, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is our new student representative, Skylar Infil. Skylar, welcome to the school committee.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Skylar Infil and I'm a freshman at Mashpee Middle High School. This was our first week back at school and we are all ready to get back into the swing of everything. I'm very honored to be the new student liaison for the school committee, and even though it's a hard act to follow, I'm taking over for Freddie's role and he sends his regards from UMass Amherst. As we're getting back into everything, our new schedules, classes, teachers, and classmates, we are doing well. Our sports are back in action with games and practices daily, and clubs are organizing and accumulating new members and preparing for the year. Each class met with Mr. Balistracci to go over expectations and review new policies on the first day. We're looking forward to a successful school year for everybody, and I'm looking forward to being able to inform you about the MMHS students through their activities, ideas, and concerns.
Thank you.
Welcome.
And I would like to ask Skylar to share about her day of service yesterday as a Project 351 ambassador.
Yeah, so yesterday I was up in Boston at the Greenway, and we were working with Project 351 in remembrance for 9/11, and two parts of it that I did. One, we had a garden path that we walked, and they each had a rock, and each rock had a name of someone from Massachusetts who died in 9/11, and they each had a corresponding card with information about their lives. So each person that walked by read about someone's life and then found their stone. And some people knew that a stone would be there, so they came to visit it. And it was just really respectful as people walked by. And then the main mission of the day was we had done 9/11 tribute service. A lot of us from Project 351 did that. So we collected things like gum and toothbrushes and deodorant and soap so that we could make 1,000 care packages, which we did end up doing yesterday. 500 of them went overseas to soldiers who are currently active, and the other 500 went down the street from where we were to a homeless center for veterans.
And also there's an article in the Boston Herald where Skylar is quoted, so if you want to look that up, just send it to
Send it out to her.
one of the messages that, I don't know if you can sort of quote yourself about that message you talked about learning from something that when something bad happens.
I just talked about how when something bad happens, it's better to focus on how we can unite from it and how we can make it something positive without disrespecting it and still showing it honor, but still making it something better and making it something we can work off of instead of just be upset with. Thank you guys. Have a great evening.
And we're very glad to have you here, and we look forward to hearing
Thank
from you.
you.
as much
You
as
as well.
possible. Thank you. Have a great night.
Thanks, Kyle.
Moving on, we have the Mashpee Wampanoag Tribe. We have a new representative, Roxanne Mills Brown. Yes, please, thank you.
Thank you. That was a hard act to follow.
Yes.
When he went up, my name is Roxanne Mills Brown. I'm an enrolled member of the Mashpee Wampanoag tribe. And it's an honor to be here with you for school board meeting of the year. I am the eldest daughter of Earl H. and Shirley Mills, and the granddaughter of Ferdinand and Emma Oakley Mills, and Daniel and Elsie Post Moore. I have 3 children, all college educated, and 5 grandchildren. I graduated with a master's degree in planning and social policy from Harvard University's Ed School. My education career spans teaching Head Start at an urban Indian center to the federal level, teaching junior high school at a K-8 Indian boarding school to assistant principal, and working through the ranks, joining the senior executive service under the Department of Interior, Bureau of Indian Education. I've held a few jobs outside of education since retiring from federal service in 2013. This opportunity, working with my tribe, I think was a gift from the Creator, and I'm so appreciative to have it. I might have gray hair, but this energizes me, and I have a deep love for education and for children, and I have some real thoughts and ideals about education of the Mashpee Indian students. I look forward to building on the foundation which has preceded me, getting more familiar with the school district and with the town and tribe's relationship, and hearing from the tribal community. I do have some things that I think need to be brought forward, but at this time I think I will hold those and get more familiar with the committee and how it operates. And then I believe there's also a partnership meeting between the committee and the tribe. And as I begin to learn more about how things, the procedures of different things, I will be able to bring forward ideas and help support the growth and education of all of our children. And specifically, our focus will be on the Native students of the school system. So again, thank you very much for having me here, and I look forward to the monthly meetings and providing updates and being of service. And I think that's probably the highest honor that one can have, in service to our children and our community. So again, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you. And before, if anybody else has any questions or comments, I just want to say thank you for being here. And you do have quite the extensive background. We look forward to, again, continuing that relationship that we've been, strengthening, especially over the last couple years. We do have an upcoming joint meeting again. We have not scheduled it yet, but we will be doing another one. We've done 2 so far. But at any time, if you have any questions or concerns, feel free to reach out to the administration. Or you can email the school committee directly. The email's on the website, but you can get that information. We'll be happy to coordinate whatever we need to in the meantime. But if anybody else has any questions or comments?
You're welcome.
And you're coming Monday is the partnership meeting.
Monday?
Calendar.
I'll be there.
It's at 4:15.
4:15.
Here.
Here? Okay, thank you.
And use the furniture.
Oh, it's beautiful, and the chairs are comfortable. Yeah, it's beautiful. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Appreciate it.
Likewise.
All right. Next on the agenda is the Mashpee Middle High School baseball trip to Florida in April. And Mr. Patnode and anybody else, please step to the mic.
Thank you. Appreciate you letting us come and talk. And you have the packet of information I did send to you earlier. And some of you have heard me speak 2 or 3 times in the past, so I think it might be nice to hear a refreshing voice. And actually, I'm going to have Will do it, because Will went as an 8th grader, and he can speak of the personal experience and what it meant to him as a student and as a baseball player, and what he gained from that.
So, as an 8th grader, I was able to go in
So, Will, I
photo
don't mean to interrupt you, but if you don't mind, would you mind moving the mic in front of you? Thank you. I'm sure everybody at home wants to hear what you have to say too.
And also giving your full name for those of us who don't know you.
So I'm William Baker, and I am a sophomore at Mashpee Middle High School. And as an 8th grader, I was able to go on the Florida trip with the varsity team. And I felt that bonding with the teammates, rooming together in the dorms, and cooperating on and off the field helped us to become better baseball players and better people. And that the historic value of Dodgertown was what really made it special. I feel it to be important to educate all ball players about the history of the game that we all play and that we all love. Vero Beach is the birthplace of the integration of Major League Baseball, and I feel that to be special to all of us. And to play on the same field that Jackie Robinson, the first African-American player in Major League Baseball, to play on the same field that he did was such a surreal experience for me, and I feel as though all ball players should be given that same opportunity to play where he did and to really just feel the energy that was provided to the field by him. So.
Thank you.
And Vero Beach was the home of the Brooklyn and then the Los Angeles Dodgers. And it has a tremendous amount of history to it. As the kids walk around through the corridors, there's the pitches, there's the quotes, there's a little stories of what transpired there over the 60 years that the Dodgers were there. In Vero Beach, Dodgertown was built because Jackie Robinson could not stay in any other hotels in Florida because he was African American. And so the Dodgers built a place where all the players could stay, house all the players. They would leave from there and then come back so they could stay there. Otherwise, he couldn't go on the games, he couldn't play. So it's kind of foreign to us now, but it was huge then. And so the players get to have that experience amongst the other things that Will had pointed out too. And again, this is the 5th time we plan on going. We'd like to go to Florida. Every other year we plan because it is an expense. We want players to have the opportunity to raise money. We do a number of fundraising things so they can raise money. So it's not just coming out of the parents' pockets, but also that they have to earn it and work for it. Because, I think as a baseball coach, I don't just teach baseball, but I teach life lessons that anything you want, you got to work for. Nothing is just given to you. So if they're going to go to Florida, you got to do something to go to Florida. It's not your parents' responsibility. Yeah, parents certainly will help out, but it's your responsibility to do something also so you can have this experience. So every year is gone. I spend a week with 18 teenagers, and I like it. Which, must be something wrong with me, but I'm there for the whole week with them. But they're great. They're great going down. They're respectful. You've seen some of the comments from the director of Vero Beach and how our kids present themselves on the field, off the field. A lot of life experiences that they get that they wouldn't get on this side of the bridge, but they can get on the other side of the bridge. So, again, you have a long meeting. I don't want to take too much time, but I want to let you understand where I'm coming from. And I think Mrs. Baker may have anything to add.
Well, he did steal a little bit of my thunder, but I'm Connie Baker. I am Will's mom, and thank you for allowing us to speak tonight. As a parent, I will say, of an 8th grader, I was a little skeptical of sending him down, but I must say that it was probably one of the best eye-opening experiences he's had. And it was a wonderful time. These boys fundraise for 2 years together. They collaborate together. They work very hard. They're determined to meet their goal, to raise enough money to go down there and really to pay their own way, so to speak. And when they do get down there, they have a great time. Visuals are great, so I printed off a picture of William actually wearing 42 on his jersey and watching, from on the field, and he had a great time. It was a wonderful experience, and I support it wholeheartedly. I think it's an educational experience as well as a social experience that these children really, really thrive with, and it's something I hope that you support and that they can go again this year, 2019, right?
Yes.
Thank you for your time. Appreciate that.
Thank you all for the information. And I would say, I'm not surprised at what you said about the behavior of the students. That you are some great kids in Mashpee. So
Yes.
it's good to hear that too.
Yes.
Does anybody have any questions or comments that they want to ask?
Can I?
Absolutely.
Sure. First of all, as a mother, Congratulations, he's awesome. I mean, maybe you can tell me what you did later. My kids are a little younger. But I hope they grow up to be as articulate and respectful. I'm a huge fan of experiential learning and of seeing places and experiencing that history firsthand. So I think it's an excellent opportunity for our students, and I'll definitely support it.
Thank you.
Just one question, I see you have the 11th or the 12th.
Right, and that's the issue because we've had that in the past, as you know. When I get approval, I contact the people that do the ticketing for us, and we try to find the tickets that are the least expensive. And sometimes it's a $200 difference if I go on one day as opposed to another day. So just to have a little bit of leeway is helpful in negotiating prices, to be able to go down there. That's why I ask for that little bit of a leeway. I can't book anything until I have approval, so it's kind of a catch-22 to say, this is the date we want to go, because I don't have approval to do that yet.
Hey, and would they be missing 1 or 2 days?
Hopefully just the Friday.
Just the Friday.
That is the goal. Is we're going to leave, hopefully we're going to leave Thursday after school, or towards the end of school like we did last year, but they were in school most of the day. So that is the goal.
Yes, do you book as a group?
Yes, we do. We book as a group.
Because I was looking around, so there's definitely direct flights that go on the evening of that Thursday, and I don't know how that works with the organization that books for you.
Well, they've got to get probably 22 to 25 seats on the same flight, between the coaches, between the players, and then I also offer any parents that would like to come down, they'll pay the price of the airfare, but it gives them maybe a chance to go down to see. I think the Bakers may come down this year just to be there and be around. Last year I think I had 4 or 5 parents that went down. One came down with us because we had another ticket, so they paid for the ticket. Others will fly down on their own, make a vacation of it, and then come over to the ballpark and watch their son play, and then do other things during the course of the day.
And you say 2 teachers, do you know who the other teachers are?
Well, there's one right now. There's myself, but then it'd be the JV baseball coach, and then there's 3 other coaches. Mr. Crook was the other coach, but as of last year, he retired. Is a better word for it. So it's myself, and then it'd be the JV coach, and then 2 or 3 other assistant coaches that have helped out over the years. And all 3 of those have been to Florida with us in the past.
Okay, so the other chaperones are not necessarily parents, they're assistant coaches?
They're assistant coaches, yes.
Then they're all Korean?
Yes, because they have to be queried to be volunteers in the program. Yeah.
And I have 2 quick questions, just from the past. With the fundraising, I know in the past it's always been that it was 100% funded by the fundraising of parents.
Yes.
Is that still the case, so there'd be no cost to the district?
There's no cost to the district.
And then the other question would be, students that, one way or another, didn't raise enough funds or can't afford it,
That's a very good question. We have a number of fundraising things. If a student has participated and tried to raise funds, we're going to help. If the student has done nothing or very little, it's a poor lesson to say, well, we're going to take care of you. I mean, if someone's really worked hard at doing what they need to do, we're going to make sure the gap, and we have done that in the past, the gap has been met. If they've done nothing or very little, it's a very poor lesson, from my perspective, to allow them to go someplace when they haven't worked towards it.
Thank you.
My only comment, I fully support this last 2 years. It was last year, though, right?
2 years ago, yeah.
Because I agree with Nicole, this is a great opportunity. I just wanted I love your guys' passion. I mean, you could probably just put the request form and put it in the packet and not even show up, and I'd probably get approved anyway, but I love the fact that we have emails and notes from people, and the good Mr. Baker, being able to talk to us, and Mrs. Baker. I think it's great, so I just appreciate the passion. I'm fully 100% on board.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And we will be going.
Awesome.
And just a couple questions. So the adults that go, do they pay a portion of it, or is theirs like free boat, or how's that work?
It's sort of like the DC trip or whatever, and 3 of them are volunteers. So 2 of them, one of them is retired, the other 2 take a vacation week to go down to Florida. They're using their vacation time to go down. So from the fundraising, what we do, that's taken care of. And then some of it, a little bit is in the kids' expense, but most of it comes out of what we've raised monies above and beyond what the kids raise. When kids raise money, if they do a certain job, we had a fundraiser recently, and it was 10 kids involved, $1,000, each kid had $100 put in, not given to them, it's put into their account towards the trip. And we do other things where there's money raised, and we put it separately to use to kind of defray that cost also. My goal is to keep it at $1,800 or less for the students and the families, because some families, I have one student that's close to $1,300 raised so far. With the hope we're going to have a few more fundraisers prior to us going.
I just have two other comments to share, that when we had the Mass Executive Institute of all the superintendents, we were advised by the attorney who presented that out-of-state trips for athletic teams were not advised. So I have that sort of sitting in my head. And the other thing I feel sorry is that other teams and other sports don't seem to get this opportunity. And I don't know if it has to do with you spearheading it, but there are, why don't some of the other teams, including females, go on some of these trips, which is not a you question.
Well, just my observation, I think as a coach, you're going to be willing to want to work towards it. You're going to be willing to say, am I going to sacrifice? Some people have families and they can't leave their little ones or whatever, but we've opted that we want to do it, so we do it. Other programs have money. If they wanted to do something, they certainly could. And some kids have said to me, why don't we do it? I said, well, you need to speak to your coach. I think it's spearheaded by coaches, because it is a major responsibility. So some coaches may not want to have that responsibility. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, so with that said, I'm going to need a motion to approve the proposed Mashpee Middle High School baseball field trip to Florida, leaving April 11th or 12th and returning on April 18th or 19th, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Nicole, second by Don. Any discussion? Hearing none, Nicole?
Yes.
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 And yes, unanimous?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Now we go to a booster club meeting from here.
Yes. He's burning us. We have to go raise money to go to Florida.
All right. All right, next on the agenda, we have 2 minutes that we need approvals on. So first is the minutes from July 18th, 2018. So once you have a chance to look those over, I need a motion to approve.
I move to approve the minutes from July 18th.
July 18th, yes. Motion by Nicole. Do you have a second?
Second.
Second by Don. Any other discussion or comments?
I appreciate the number of times it says absent, Mr. Gorman.
Want to make sure everybody knows. All right. No other discussion. Nicole, how do you vote?
Yes.
Yes.
Abstain?
And yes, you have 4 yeses and 1 abstain. Oh, that's right, George is a name. Sorry, I wanted to count at some point. You're doing a great job filling in the cast.
Not even typing aggressively.
I really appreciate it. All right, next we have the minutes from August 22nd, 2018. I'll need a motion for those.
Only quick comment here is my name is spelled incorrectly. Just at the top.
Yeah, I saw another typo on the second page, but I can send that to Kathy.
All right, do we have a motion to approve the August 22nd, 2018 minutes with typos corrected?
So moved.
Motion by Nicole. Second.
Second?
Second by Jeff. Any discussion? Nicole, how do you vote?
Yes.
Abstain.
Yes.
And yes, so we have 3 yeses and 1 abstain. All right, thank you. So next on the agenda is the update on Quashnet Building Project, which looks fantastic. Right, Kate?
Hi, good evening, everybody. So how does it look? Do you like it?
Spacious.
Comfortable?
I see you looking at me.
I am.
Keep my head down.
And it's a little cooler, hopefully, for everyone. We can't do anything about the humidity, but if you can look at the windows behind you, you can see the glaze a little bit on them. That does reflect some of those rays, so the whole building is a little bit cooler than it used to be. We do not have all the shades in place yet. Shades will be put here, but it really, it's just so beautiful to be able to open these windows throughout the halls, and there's a flow of the air. It's really, really great. So overall, one of the things you can see back here too is each door, they have the big numbers on them. That paper will be replaced with a plaque that has a number. The interior doors are not going to be numbered. Those are just for construction, but all of the outside doors will have a very clearly marked number on them. The fire department and the police department also have those same numbers in their computer system. So when we do call for help here, if we have a student or a staff member that needs help, we can say, please come to exit number. And we numbered those along with the fire department, so it's a logical clockwise rotation. But it's so nice that they'll be nice and big, so they're on order. The other great news with construction is that we are done moving classrooms. No classrooms will need to be relocated anymore, and everyone has been returned to their home base, which is really great. That happened as of last Friday. We had a couple classrooms. The music had started the year in the gym. Mr. Williams' 6th grade class was displaced, and the art room was displaced. So they returned to their classroom second shift on Friday, so Monday they could start in their homerooms, which was really wonderful, which is about 3 weeks ahead of schedule on the window rotation. You might have seen that temporary wall coming in, our graffiti wall. It's been a lot of fun. Please feel free to leave a note. That is coming down on Friday, September 21st. But we do have another temporary wall being put up this Friday, second shift in the cafeteria. It's a different crew that installs the window compared to the demolition. So the demolition of the windows in that cafeteria, that elevation, I'm learning all these great construction terms, so that elevation will be demoed starting next week. But that wall will go up on Friday. We will keep access to the cafeteria doors, however. That wall will come out a little bit so we can still use that door for dismissal and arrival in the morning. One of the upgrades that we are hopeful we can do, we're pricing out. Originally in the cafeteria, we had all the same windows, but on the doors going out, you can't put the shades. So we have kind of a really heavy glazed window there that you can't see in, but you can see out. And when Catherine Laurent and I looked at that, it really makes more sense in the cafeteria to have that whole wall of glass like that. And if we did that, we would be able to drop the shades. We don't need the shades in there. So we're hopeful. We're pricing it out. We talked to the architect to see what that change would be, if there is even a change in price, because we don't have to get the shades in there. So that's one thing we're looking at.
Can I ask you a question about
Yeah.
the cafeteria? So I may not be picturing it correctly, but how are you going to keep it cool in there with some new wall on the window side?
None of those windows open.
So there's no change in sort of the climate in there with
No.
the addition of the wall?
Those windows have been sealed shut for several years
Oh, okay.
because they're broken. So they've actually been soldered shut, and it's very unbearable in there in this weather. So we do keep some floor fans that are circulating the air. We don't like keeping the doors open because that creates a safety problem. So that's why we needed windows for about 10 years.
Great, thank you.
So it will be really great to be able to open windows and get some ventilation. And with the screens, it does make a huge difference as well. Another piece that's been a little bit challenging for us, and it is the one area we're really behind in the project, is our door operations. The company that has been kind of responsible for all of the fob access points has been behind in their receiving of materials, and so we are not able to use our fobs on all of the entrances. Really, the main entrance is the only one at this point. They've been working all day today, during the day and second shift, and I believe they're up in the superintendent's office right now, working on that access to the front. But we really need those fob access points on our blue doors. And if you look around the school, all of our exterior doors are blue. These interior exterior doors are more of that silver color. And it was great to start the year to tell our students, you don't touch a blue door. You never open that blue door unless there's an adult there. You have direct permission from your teacher or from me. So they have been absolutely wonderful. The color coding makes sense. They get it. One of the third graders said, what if there's a fire drill? Can I touch the door? And I said, well, of course, but you're going to be with your teacher. And we did have our first fire drill, and they did a beautiful job. So that's all been really good. Bathrooms. One of the casualties of construction was we were going to use the same soap dispensers and toilet paper holders. I tell you, I'm knowing a lot about construction these days. But they were disposed of instead of being kept. So our vendor is a little behind. They're back ordered. So we do have soap in each of the bathrooms for the students. However, not as many as we will have.
I thought you were going to say, but no toilet paper.
We do have toilet paper,
Thank goodness.
but not in the staff rooms. We don't have the dispensers. So there are rolls of toilet paper, and in the staff bathrooms, we did have to have the, just a regular pump. But it will all be coming. It's just one of those back order things. But I think in the grand scheme of things, we were able to open on time, and that was really the success of this whole project. I really was very nervous for a little bit, but and again, I spoke about it at our last meeting, that our staff has been just absolutely amazing, so patient and tolerant of all of these inconveniences, and really have helped make this project go so smoothly. So I really appreciate that. Does anybody have questions?
I'm comment about the gym window, which I think looks spectacular. The door windows.
Yes, the gym, to go into that gym and have natural light, above the door there is a big panel of glass, and actually they fell out and were just they had plywood over them over the last probably 3 years. And to see that glass, and you walk into the gym and you can see trees, you can see sunlight come through. It's all those simple little things. But even the door in the front of the gym now has a handicap access point, and there are glass panels so you can see out. I think there's a huge safety factor there, and it gives you a different feel. Even when you walk down the halls, before there were 2 solid brown doors with just that dead light panel next to the side. So that was removed. The doors are much wider and have glass in them now. So when you walk down the hall and you see that natural light, it gives you such a different feeling within the school. And our occupancy actually changed because we can evacuate more people at one time. But it really has given a different feel to the whole building. The kids are excited about it. They love the changes and finding the changes. Last night we had open house, and there were several 7th graders here. And I'm like, I can't believe this library. I can't believe you did all this when I left. So they were very excited. They were like, oh my gosh. But it's been really great.
Thank you for everything you did. And when I asked my kids after the first day of school, I said, so how does it look? How about the bathrooms? They go, Mom, they're school bathrooms.
Yeah.
I was like, but they have all this new, my kids were so nonplussed by the whole thing. But when we got here last night, all I heard was how impressed everybody was. So.
Yeah. And we really had great feedback, and I do have to shout out to the parents. We really want to thank you for coming last night we had such an amazing turnout, and it was great to see. We appreciate that partnership with our families.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have anything?
Be sure to sign the wall before you leave tonight. Markers are up.
Thank you, Mary Kay, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right, next on the agenda, we have Mr. Paul Funk, Board of the Business Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first thing I will go over tonight, I have a couple of things. School opened again very smoothly, as you heard tonight. Starting to purchase materials. The principals are spending their money, which is fine. I do have kids have to have materials and so forth. But there are a couple of things that I want to go over. The first thing is on page 20. I'd like to go over the district-wide information technology system-wide, and this is being driven by trying to meet some of the goals that we want to meet in FY19. We replaced a number of computers up at the high school. So you can see that the original budget was $195,000. We've already expended $223,000, and it's the first month of school. Last year, the money that was spent on technology came from the choice, but as you know, we had to use $355,000 of that choice money that came in, which is approximately $500,000. So we're using $355,000 to cover our operating budget. So what I've been doing is I've been applying it all to the line items as we had discussed last year, and then we'll see how that plays out before we move over into the choice money. So I'm kind of watching it very, very closely. We will have to do some expenditures to choice, but right now most of it is coming into the line items. The second item that I wanted to discuss, so that we don't have any panics, if you go to page 55 in your budget to actual, I'm sorry, not 55. Yeah, no, not 55. Got the wrong date. They all look the same. 33. If you go to page 33, you'll notice that our other districts we're in a deficit of $121,608. We are not in that deficit. We have approximately $500,000, to be exact, $502,000 in circuit breaker money. And as you know, as the bills come in, the encumbrances right now are driving that $121,608. We encumber all of the outer districts as we get them. When we go to pay them, we start paying them against the circuit breaker money. So if you remember last year, because you were all on the school committee, that doesn't get straightened out until either November or December, because we keep backing out money. So you're going to see that 121 keep decreasing as we start to pay those bills. It may increase next month, but as we get into November, it's going to start going down rapidly. And by December, we'll have a balance, and I'll make the transfers that will balance out all of those items there, the public schools, private schools, and collaboratives. So we're not in a deficit there. I've already projected that we will not be in a deficit, so the sped director understands that very, very, very well. But no, we're fine. I just don't want any panic there. I'll entertain questions on the budget to actual before we get into the FY20 budget.
Just real quick, so I know we're kind of changing the way we're doing business a little bit this year because of the way we do school choice now.
Right.
So what do you think is the appropriate way to flag it when we are going to? So right now we're seeing negatives, and we assume when we see them, that we're going to be able to shift line items to cover those negatives.
Very good,
And if we can't cover those negatives, then we're gonna dip into school choice.
very good.
So at what point are we gonna start raising the red flag and say, okay, we are at $100,000 left of line items, budget to actual, we're gonna have to dip into school choice? How are you tracking that?
Well,
I assume an Excel spreadsheet, but,
well, actually just using the budget to actual. If you look at those, and of course, being the one that built the budget, you know, I know where we might find some funds, and I'm kind of, it's called job security, I kind of have that number here, and, you know, I will watch it, and I will be charging stuff to, you know, school choice, but the problem of using the 355,000 plus, I'll call it plus, is that to do another library like this is not going to be in the cards this year. We're not going to have that kind of funds left over, because just as you said, Jeff, I'll be looking at if there's an excess in the salaries, which it doesn't look like there's going to be. We were able to cover certain positions that were not budgeted. And I'll get to that in a minute. But, you know, if I'm looking at particular sections of the budget that I might be able to come up with, let's say I get up to 300,000 in technology as a deficit. I'll start looking, and that might be my red flag. But I'll also be looking at McKinney-Vento. Where are we in January with the McKinney-Vento? Because that's one. Out-of-district transportation, I'll be looking at that to see if there are funds available that we can transfer to that particular line. So I'll be watching it very, very carefully. What I had to do this year is I had to take a little different approach. In the past, you know, we didn't have that 355 against our budget. And so what I did is when we started to build the budget to actual, we took the salaries and we said, okay, we're going to have to pay people for the whole year. So that piece, I built my budget around that. And if you go back and you look what was budgeted, the 17,620,310, that when we built, you know, our budget to actual, that's pretty much covering all of our salaries plus the substitutes. Now, you know, I can't tell you what we're gonna. I give it my best shot on the substitutes, you know, and you know, because it's not only substitutes for people that are out sick, but they bring substitutes in to go into classrooms so the teacher can leave to go to a meeting or whatever. So there's professional development, we bring a sub in so a teacher can go to a conference or something if it's really needed. So, you know, sometimes we'll pick up some money there. So when I'm going to wave the red flag, I don't know. It's going to be after January.
I wonder with the support of the committee, if we can have maybe a more in-depth discussion at the next working group a little bit about how we should approach this. And then
sure. I feel, you know, I can tell you I feel comfortable with the salary piece. I don't, you know, I'm not going to go.
I don't think I'm not overly concerned with FY19. What I'm concerned is just how we do this in the future for the process. You know,
well,
there should be a flag, right, that comes up when we.
Right, I understand that, but it's almost like you're going to change that point where the red flag comes up from year to year.
It may be.
You know what I'm saying? It's not going to be able.
I mean, we could have it like we said. We always talk about out of districts. You could have an out of district that makes the flag go down the second month of the school year.
Right. But I feel pretty confident. But I mean, you know, we still have that covered if we do get another out of district. But you know, those are the things that come along. So you know, where the red flag. I don't know if I could pinpoint that tonight, but we could have a discussion in our financial group, and maybe I can come back and report out to the committee where we feel. But I can give you some.
Thanks, sir.
So at this point, we have not expended any school choice funds, correct?
No, we have. We have expended some technology, Camp Falcon, the salaries, the salary piece. We didn't budget for that. That was part of the 355.
Okay. Yeah,
But that's part of,
Isn't that part of your normal packet?
I'm sorry.
Normally in the package, you include school.
I didn't, yeah, I'll get to that, and I'm gonna get to that
Okay.
right after this.
Okay.
Because it's the beginning of the year, I kind of backed some items back into, that I had in choice, I backed it back into the budget on the technology. But that report will come next month. It hasn't been that much,
Okay.
okay? So that report, again, we've only been open for business a couple of weeks, and I just got the grants approved today, so I can't report out if I don't know whether we got the grants. It's not a bright outlook there, but we're holding our own. It's probably, I would call it level funding. Yeah, there wasn't any big increases. No, that's what I'm talking about. Level, you might get 5, 10,000, maybe 20,000, not even that. No. 240 got a few more dollars. Yeah.
So
So,
do
I
you
mean,
expect next month that you'll be zeroing these out, or are you gonna continue to let these grow in negative, or?
what, these?
Yeah.
I think that's a discussion we're going to have.
Okay.
And, you know, where's the red flag? Now, I'm already at, in the technology, you know, I'm in the deficit of 42,516 in that whole area. It's not just technology, it's curriculum and other stuff that are involved in that. But if you go to that curriculum, to the technology page, you're looking at a $223,000, almost a $224,000 deficit. So that's, you know, if I get another 100,000 on top of that, you know, I'm gonna have to start looking at other places. Can I cover that as the year goes on? It's gonna determine whether I can cover that $300,000 deficit, or can I cover a $400,000 deficit by changing line items?
So I guess I'm confused because you just a moment ago said that you did charge some stuff to school choice.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
And then, so we've charged some stuff
Yeah,
and other stuff we haven't.
correct. Correct. And I'll give you that report
So-
next month.
Okay, because I thought we were not charging anything to school choice.
We can do
Everything
that.
was
We can
gonna
move
go
it
to
all,
the
we can,
budget
Unless we actually have to.
Unless we actually
but
had
then
to.
that creates a whole new system. And then we're gonna do journal entries? Is that the way you wanna do it? We can do that.
Well, I think we had a different impression
Okay?
of
Well,
how it was
just-
being handled. And so just trying to get clarity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought the point was we were gonna exhaust our budget and then spend the school choice for what we needed at the end, so that rather than giving money back to the town at the end of the year,
Yeah,
we
you don't
just
have
didn't use, you know, whatever we planned to spend on school choice, so that whatever savings we accrue become ours.
Yep, we can do that. We can do that.
Well, you don't look happy about it, Paul.
No, I'm not happy about it. I'm not happy about it.
So tell us.
Because it's a whole nother step that we have to go.
Okay, so explain to me the difference. I mean, what you want to do versus what we think
We
we
have
were doing.
355,000,
Right.
okay, that this budget has been offset by. So I can say, okay, let's take technology, we'll use 300 of the 355. Then I'll take Camp Falcon, I'll use 40,000 of the 55, which is just the salaries. I covered all the other stuff out of the budget. So there's 40,000. So now we're down to, what? We're down to 10,000?
15, yeah.
To 10 or 15,000. So so if I add another 300,000 to this, we're gonna, in technology alone, we're gonna spend $500,000. And we've got 300,000, so I started putting some of it into choice. But I can certainly back that out and charge it all year. And
Well, I
it's
think-
not a big deal. I'll
think
do
it's
whatever you want.
I think you're just playing a game now. And I think we just need to understand that we're all in the same philosophy about how we're approaching the budget.
Right.
Because where the numbers are on the budget doesn't
Right.
really make any difference at the end of the day. At the end of the year, you're either gonna have the money in the budget to pay for it, or we're not,
Right.
you know? So,
Yeah, I think you're just, you're doing what you need to do accounting-wise to execute what
Right.
we've
Yeah.
agreed to.
Right.
And that's,
yeah, and
Yeah.
again, that's a perfect in-depth discussion to have at the working group, and we'll
Right.
report
We
back
can- Then
out.
we can make the decision, and if you want to move that money.
I mean, we know
out-
what the philosophy was that we wanted to do, and we'll
Right.
talk about it in detail and then present it to the
But
the
I
board.
knew that this budget was going to go over what I expended easily, in choice, easily.
Well, when you say this budget,
The budget,
For-
FY '19.
in total?
In what? It will,
So when you say this budget, it's gonna go over what we had in choice, what are you saying?
no, not over in choice. It's going to go over 223. It's going to go over the 355. I can guarantee it's going to go over the 355. It already, you got 223 right there.
You're saying if you were to use choice first, it would go over that.
No,
Is that what you're
No,
saying?
No,
no,
he's
I'm saying that it's going to
Yeah.
go, in another month, that's going to be over, the 355.
So we're going to, what you're saying right now is, we're going to use more than the 355,000 in choice that we had set aside.
Okay. Okay.
Absolutely.
Why? The budget was 355,000. I mean, why would we spend more than that? Unless we had to spend more than that.
Well, I mean, as far as technology goes, just buying Chromebooks. I mean, we've,
You know this is my number one.
I understand,
point,
I
right? We
understand, I understand, but I mean.
We
we're
plan to
buying-
the budget, we don't budget to the plan. You know?
I understand. But, you know, and when you try to do that, and somebody doesn't have a Chromebook, I mean, we can do that. We can stop all, you know,
Right.
as far as
I
the
mean,
purchasing.
You know, again, we can talk about this, we can talk about it as long as anybody at the board wants to talk
Right,
about it.
right.
But, you know, we're expanding, are we expanding 19 to
20. 20.
So, you know, I would be interested to know that, you know, at the very first meeting we're having, talking about the new budget, what expenditures are we making that are discretionary? Because they can't all be mandatory expenses. You know, if we budgeted, you know, 18,000.
195,000 for technology.
I know, but you keep saying that. But I mean, are we trying to say everything in that technology none of that was discretionary spending?
I wouldn't say it was discretionary.
Are you getting, I think what Jeff's saying is, so here's the problem. We can't tell the town that we need a certain amount of money. We use that money, and then we find more money to get the stuff that we still need that we didn't budget for. I think that's the problem, is that we still manage to find, because you're a genius, to find the
No,
money.
I'm not a
that-
genius, but.
No,
yeah,
but,
yeah.
no, but I'm just saying, I'm
This
just
fell out of
saying,
the sky.
you know, we're trying to tell them that, and they're not
Yeah,
level
yeah.
funding us. We're trying to tell them that they're not level funding us, which they aren't, and yet everything is still getting paid for. I think that's gonna be a problem.
It's a real problem.
When
It's a
we
real
turn-
problem that I deal with every day.
Yeah,
That when someone walks in and says, I need 100 Chromebooks, because kids don't have Chromebooks.
well then
And
I
I
think,
say, don't buy them,
yeah.
and they say, well, we need them. What do I do?
Well, what do you guys think we should do?
What do you think we should do?
In that
Well,
situation?
That's completely unfair. It's always technology that we go to.
No,
Well,
but I mean,
that's-
don't we have to say we can't get them this year at some point? So that we can demonstrate that we're in a shortfall?
Possibly, and I think, and I
Okay.
just want to throw some information, please correct me if I'm mistaken. So, and you know, I was not in favor of some of the stuff that happened with the budget last year, that's neither here nor there right now. But, so, we've always had a budget which slowly became more and more level service. budget, which is not really the case. And we've had school choice, which we've always spent out of school choice. Now that we've had to use some of that school choice just to kind of get us to where we are, more level service, we still need to spend money on school choice like we always have, maybe not as much, and now we have less of it because we had to offset the budget to just get us to where we needed to be, because that's what the town told us we needed to do. So we have this budget, which now includes some of our school choice funds, just to make the school operate and run the way we need it to run, but we still need to spend school choice on certain things like we have in the past years before. So it just looks like we're spending more money out of school choice, but really we're kind of forced to spend some of it just to get our budget in line where we need it to be. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but that's the way I'm understanding it.
Right, that's exactly what it is. But here's the way I look at it, and we can change it. That there's gonna be, just as Jeff said, there's gonna come a time when there's gonna be a red flag. When I'm looking to cover right now $223,852.98. That's what I'm looking to cover from someplace else in the budget. Whether it be out of districts, whether it be transportation. I don't take it from the schools. I've never touched the school budgets until March, and I say, hey, it's game over. I think I've given them enough time to expend it. Now, maybe February this year. But, it's always been like March or April, and they've, it's still, even at that point, I'll say to them, well, if you need something, call me and tell me so that we can take care of it. But, it's not the time to go out and buy eight skids of paper or something, in March. And that's, they've done that. They've come to me and said, hey, I got a special day at the Coon School where we're gonna do something, Flag Day. I said, okay, fine, what do you need? We take care of it. But but I'm, right now, I'm looking to make up $223,852. Part of that would become part of the $855,000. Because most of that was earmarked for this.
You mean 350?
I mean 300, what did I say?
You said 800.
Oh, did I?
And I'm not gonna keep beating this up, because again, we can talk about this more at the group and pass it up to the committee.
And I can make changes.
No, I mean, my thing is that we approved the budget. We were all we really advocated for the budget. We fought for it. We got every penny we could possibly get. And as I sit here, my understanding was we had an X amount of money in the budget, plus we had agreed as a board that we were going to spend $355,000 with school choice. If you already know that we're going to exceed that, that's a red flag.
Yeah.
And I think that the people around this table deserve to be part of that conversation before we even think about buying anything else that's going to expend us over that.
Well, I bought it 100 Chromebooks. We can hold up on that. I mean, those are the things that, but we can hold up on.
So, we needed to purchase 100 Chromebooks that we didn't know about last year.
No, I didn't know about them.
So they weren't budgeted for.
Well, they were part of the technology budget, so.
So they were budgeted
Yeah.
for.
But I just use that as an example.
Anything else? So no, this discussion should continue in the smaller group. But if anybody else has anything else to bring up aside from that, we'll have Paul continue this specific conversation with them. We'll move on to the next item then, Paul. Thank you.
Next item is the FY20 budget. Again, I left the 355,500 in as an offset. We have total salaries, $18,344,719. We have total expenses, $4,846,986, giving us a total of $23,600,000. $191,705. So the actual net after the 355.5 is 22,836,205. That would be what you were asking me.
Patty, what I don't see in here is I thought we had specific pages that individually describe the large jumps. And I don't see that in the package, like the administration salaries and the athletic salaries, and then like the 95% increase at the middle school.
It's in the narrative.
It is in the narrative?
The draft narrative.
You got it. I apologize, I missed that. Oh, look at that.
You knew you saw it somewhere.
I'm sorry?
You knew you saw it somewhere.
I know I saw it somewhere.
Where is it, Joe?
Starting in page 12.
If anyone has any questions or comments, I'll read through that.
Can we go through what those items are and what the dollar amount is associated with the explanations?
I think some of that backup is in Mr. Funk's binder where it fed up through the principles. I can ballpark it on page 12. You're talking about the reasons for different increases and decreases?
Yep.
We can, is that something you want to include in this narrative, that specific reasons?
Well, I guess I'm asking because I want to understand what the changes are. For example, as I understand it, the assistant superintendent salary, 25,000 of that was included in Title I, and is now not covered by Title I.
That is correct.
Yeah.
That is correct.
Is that our decision, or is that part of the grant now? So the grant said you can't do salaries out of it?
No, you can, but we write the grants, you don't write the grants, so we determine, our grants got cut significantly, so we have to pay teachers.
With the grant?
With the grant,
Got it.
absolutely.
And you did say the grants got cut.
Significant.
Okay, just wanted to make that clear.
So our total grants went down $12,000
For FY19,
for FY20.
we don't have.
FY
We
20
don't
is an
have-
estimate.
It's an
Right,
estimate.
so that's what this is an estimate for FY20, right?
Right, yes. Maybe I'm not understanding. It's just-
So this was the first year, this FY year, that, isn't it correct, in FY 19 your salary? No,
Not in-
FY 20, yeah.
No, it is not in FY19.
Not in this year,
Title
next year.
salary is not. The assistant superintendent section of the salary is not in Title I in FY19.
So it went down in 19 and also is down in 20.
Right, but the budget which was built, FY 19 being built 18 months ahead.
You know, FY 19 is because we don't know what we're doing.
All right.
So this actually, that number actually includes the FY19 and the FY20 decrease in Title I, or is it only one decrease which actually happened this year?
We don't know 20. She's predicting.
No, I'm talking about your salary, not the grant number.
Both, yes.
So it's
19
another
and 20.
25, like you took 25 out in 19, another 25 out?
No.
That's correct.
No,
No, it's in this year?
no, but it's not going to have been in this year to then have to come out
Oh,
next
yeah,
year.
yeah, no.
So no, it's a one shot.
So it's not coming out in 2020?
It's not additionally coming out. It was never, it's not in.
It's carrying over.
So,
I think that's what.
Yeah, I
he's getting
got
at.
this.
is that right? Is that what you're asking?
Right, and so that means that the, but we're still using that as a defense for the increase in 2020. But it's not part of 2020.
We didn't budget for it this way in 2019.
So the FY19 budget number is $25,000 light.
No, the grant, so this is higher because her whole salary is now in that district administration, where in the past it would have been in there at 25,000 less, because 25 is part of the grant.
Right, in which budget?
Well, actually, in FY19, her reduced salary is in there. Because this budget was built way in
Got it,
advance.
got it.
Yeah,
I see
that's
what
what
you're
I'm
saying.
saying.
Right,
We
so
didn't
it's
know.
$25,000.
We had to pull it out.
Like
Okay.
it, yeah, okay. Sorry.
No, this is good.
That's
No,
okay.
that's fine. So 25,000 of the 96,000 is related to this.
That's right, and then increasing the outreach coordinator from half to full. And then just general salary increases.
How much was the outreach coordinator?
If it's 40 or 42, it's $20 an hour.
I think it was 40, wasn't it 46.4 or something like that? Am I wrong?
To make the person
42.4?
full-time.
Yeah,
Okay. In the 40s.
it is in the 40s.
Paul's running to get some of that supporting information.
Do you know where we're at?
So I think in the,
Yeah, I don't know which one.
this should, if,
You should be here.
Patty, if that's,
I think it's 44.6 or something like that.
if that's what we're doing, that's what the narrative should say. Instead of includes the full-time coordinator position, it should say, moving a part-time position to full-time. Yes, that language makes it seem like the position doesn't exist right now, and we're adding. I know some of that's semantics, but,
Well, the important thing.
yeah. Yeah. So what about the next one?
So the shifts in the Coon School,
Yeah,
according to what
That
the
seems-
funds shared, it has to do with sometimes high-end veteran teachers retiring and coming in lower for others. So what you would expect to be more in line with the other schools, it appears lower.
are you talking in code?
No, I'm not.
Okay, what does that mean? Shifts in personnel.
Somebody retires at $80,000 and we hire someone at 42, there's a shift.
Okay,
It's
but in this
fine.
case, it's a shift in the other direction. This, because it's going up, we're requesting an increase.
Right.
Well,
But not
the
in-
increase is so small at 1.55%.
Increase is less than what
Yeah,
it
less
would
than, less
Okay,
than,
all right, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's an abnormally low increase.
I see.
That's-
Okay,
that's a good thing.
yeah.
It did go up a little
Below
bit.
3%.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. And then the next one, E, that was something we funded this year, right? Thought we had to fund that.
The what?
The technology repair person at halftime. I thought we,
Wasn't budgeted. We put it in the budget, wasn't budgeted originally back in September.
so this is an existing position that we're adding into the
Yeah.
20 budget.
Correct.
It's been unfilled for a while.
Is it unfunded?
Was that
Unfunded.
But I thought this was, we were doing this because it was going to offset repair costs. Or am I thinking of a different person?
That was the BCBA. That was gonna offset the contract.
No, this was.
No, not the,
No, I'm saying that was the offset.
That was something different. In regard to technology, I thought that we were adding on because then that would offset repair costs that we were incurring to fix all these Chromebooks.
I think a little bit of that, but it also offsets the fact that our directors of instructional technology should be doing instructional technology in classrooms, and they were doing a lot of repair. They've been doing a lot of the repairs themselves.
That's what should be in the narrative. That very thing right there. We're freeing up instructional time for our teachers. so they don't have to repair Chromebooks.
Is that, right now we have two ridiculously well-paid repair technicians as opposed to
Yeah.
instructional
Well,
technology.
they're teaching a lot of time, like, there's a lot of Chromebooks that are not getting fixed.
You're
That's,
missing my
no,
point.
I know,
Yeah.
I don't want anyone to think that that's what they spend their time doing, but then we
They
don't
do
have
both.
Chromebooks.
Very stretched. And if I'm not mistaken, reading through the packet, that position still is not filled.
Okay. Special education?
Do we even need to do B?
I don't know, I left, so I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we don't include Quashnet or Mashpee Middle School, middle high school.
Well, no, because I felt like that was, the salary increases and steps that seemed to sort of be in the ballpark, but the one seemed just.
I'm curious why we don't just do a thing for each line that says, like, for example, that Cume School line, shifts in personnel, I say typically the shift would be 3 and 4%. This year it's lower. Just to describe each line in a way that near, yeah. Yep.
I get it. I'm like a spin. Spin to the positive, right?
Yep.
I mean, what all we're doing here is creating a document to sell the budget.
That what?
To explain
To
it.
sell the budget.
To explain it.
To explain.
Right,
You don't have to
but,
word sell.
but
Well, because I shouldn't have to sell my public school budget to the town, but I should definitely have to explain it to them, to help them understand why we need what we're asking.
right.
Sell makes it sound like I'm trying to convince them to spend more money than they need to.
But you also have to understand, and this, I'm getting up on my soapbox here, that this is only a projection of how we're gonna expend the money next year. I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know if we're gonna have 4 kids move in, special needs kids move in, they are going out of district, and we're gonna, they moved in March, we didn't make the April 1st cut or whatever. I don't know that. So this is a projection of how we're gonna spend the money. The salaries, as I said earlier in the FY19 budget, that, yeah, there's substitutes in there. Do I know how much I'm gonna expend at the Coon School or Quashnet? I don't want the Coons to think I'm picking on them. The Quashnet School on subs, I don't know. I take my best shot based on past expenditures in these schools. And the past couple of years, we've been pretty good. 4 years ago, we weren't so good. It's just one of those things. I don't know who's gonna get sick this year. And we got some long-term people, but, we knew they were coming, and we still feel we can manage it. So again, it's a projection of how we're gonna expend the money. And that's why I have transfers throughout the year, so. And it would actually probably make it easier for me to just throw all the expenditures right into technology, so you can see a $400,000 deficit in the next month, and then move it over at a later date, or when we reach that flag, when we determine if we can determine what that flag is.
All right, so can we get back,
Yep.
though, to
I'm
the
sorry.
FY20 budget, though? I mean, and I think everyone appreciates that there's a certain number of assumptions that you have to make in constructing this budget. I think our point is being able to explain what those assumptions are. So for example, when we look at special education, which is the next item here, and going up 229,000, our explanation here is addition of a BCBA, but that's not the full story.
And isn't it in this budget?
Well, it has the contractual increases as well.
No, but this, I believe elsewhere in this, it talks about out of the district, well,
This is just personnel.
this is just personnel.
salaries.
So
Correct.
is the personnel side of it accounting for the rest of it? The normal contractual obligations is accounting for 229 less whatever the BCBA is.
I'm missing.
So the percentage increase is 6%. Don's asking, well, we know that's not just one analyst. It does not cost $226,000, but that's all we have in the explanation here. So he's asking, what's the rest of it?
Right. Well-
Is the rest of it contractual obligation?
When you say contractual, you mean like a paraprofessional that was put on that we didn't have budgeted? That had to be,
No,
no, okay.
So I'm talking, if we started with 75 people in
Right,
special education,
right,
and we're budgeting for 75 people, there's contractual obligations.
right.
If we're starting with 75, and we think we're gonna need 80,
Right.
based on what we know today,
Right.
that's, what does that represent? And is that the case? I don't know. So there's a headcount increase, and then there's a contractual obligation.
Right,
increase.
part of that is contractual obligations. We all know that. We negotiated those salaries. The other piece to this is, yeah, there are additional personnel that were not budgeted for in the FY19 budget that carries over to the 20. Now, the reason why they're not in the 19 budget is because when we prepared that 19 budget, they weren't working for us. But a special needs, 2 or 3 special need paraprofessionals on top of the BCBA were added, and they, it wasn't like a one-shot deal that, okay, they're gonna work for FY 18 or 19, and they're gonna be gone. They keep carrying them over.
Right, but we need to understand those assumptions.
All I was gonna say is if you take the 229 minus 80,000, which is, I think, around what the BCBA is, then that monetary increase over the FY19 is 4%. And if you think of the majority of people in that budget line item get steps, that's pretty much what they do.
Okay, but that's not what Paul is saying. Paul's saying that it also includes additional personnel that weren't budgeted in 19, that will carry over into 20, right?
Right,
Okay.
absolutely, because we're preparing this budget almost 2 years ahead. It's almost unheard of.
Take a step back for me and don't get defensive anymore. We cannot see in your head, my friend. You know this budget backwards and forwards. You know why it's 6.24% down to the Nats booty,
Sure.
right? We don't. So all we know is addition of district-wide BCBA. And that doesn't make sense to any of us because it's $229,000.
Right.
So we should probably, and it's not going to make any sense to the environment that this is for. It's not for the board, it's for the public. Right, so that's what we keep asking the questions, because we want to
No, I
understand so we can.
I understand. I'm not going to get defensive.
Yeah. I love you, man. Calm down. My thing for special education, I could have sworn, and again, I've been proven wrong many, many times in my life, that we added the $80,000 into the FY19 budget, specifically asked for it from the town, because we needed to hire the BCBA.
Well, we got those additional funds that night.
Right.
I don't remember the exact.
Oh, that
It was
was
about
glorious
92,000, right?
Yes, I was there.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
beautiful.
you were there. It was around 92,000, so that would have covered.
Yeah.
the
So
BCBA.
I mean, then that should not be a reason why there's an increase in
Right.
FY20.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you that I can tie people to every one of those numbers. I can bring that to you.
I mean, we have to decide what the detail we want to provide. I guess.
Well,
It's just,
Yeah, right, you don't want to.
Just a general comment.
Well, not the, but I mean the story, right? So,
Yes.
so
Right,
Patty, I've
absolutely.
heard Patty say in just my limited time on the board that, kids are coming to us with more needs. So it makes sense
Mhm.
that such a line item would increase, that we would need
Yeah, we
more
talked about it.
personnel, that we'd need more, you know, so I think if that's the story, then that's what we need to say. If we've had to add personnel to manage the special education needs of our students, this isn't, and I'm looking at you, Paul, but this is just so you understand, you're on the numbers side, we're on kind of the narrative side.
Right, but, you know, I can give you an example. We had a child that needed a one-to-one aide, so we bring the one-to-one aide in, right? So the one-to-one aide comes in, takes the child, got a one-to-one aide all day long, and the town's paying the benefits plus the thing, so there's a double hit there. But the child needed that. But then all of a sudden, the child goes out of district and felt it was a better situation if the child goes up. So there's a $70,000 hit. But you still got the paraprofessional.
So Paul, I think part of the point is I don't think anybody's really arguing that point, and I think we all understand that kids' needs change year
Right.
to year, and we need to
Right,
maintain
no,
flexibility.
I'm just
think
giving
that-
you, it's not necessarily an example, it's just
No, I
a typical
understand, I think
example.
just to be very simple, the bottom line, I think we're all trying to get at least I can speak for myself, is that we just need a little bit more clarification.
Yep.
So when we see one, either don't put anything and we can have discussion, or when you see one name on there or one job title on there,
Right.
in such a large number, it's very
Yeah, I
confusing.
understand. And
Especially
that's
when
one
the
of
general
the,
public
that's
gets
the
hold of the
biggest,
document.
that's the biggest number.
Yeah, so to just have a little bit more explanation as to why
Mhm.
there's a bigger number than what might be expected.
And to go with what Nicole said, we specifically mentioned that we're addressing the increasing social emotional needs of our student staff.
Yeah.
We've talked about that before. And that doesn't, there isn't reason that the special education part of that can't dovetail right into that.
Exactly.
budget guideline.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, it doesn't have to be detailed hiring 6.2 FTE or something like that. And, unless the board decides that's what they want.
So I think at the financial working group is meeting on the 18th, that this is on that agenda in terms of really making sure,
How much time do we budget for that?
well, we'll do as much as we can, we'll have to do some offline, but
Yeah.
at least to get to the message that we want to
Yeah.
use for expanding the budget. This is a draft. This is definitely.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Just a first step.
It's also the first time I think we've discussed it as a group. Right?
Yes, it is.
Timing wise, so some amount is going to have to be entered into munis by September 28th, the initial one, but that doesn't mean that's anywhere near going to be the budget commitment for
No.
the district.
Rodney doesn't like it when we change the budget after it's in use, just based on recent experience.
Well, we've never changed it.
Well, yeah, we did last year.
Oh, yes, yes. Yes, yeah. That's right. He told me my budget was very, very good,
Yeah.
if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
He
he
said,
did.
I know Paul, he did a great job.
Yeah.
But I said, that's not what the school did.
So, and then can we just hit on this last one real quick? What's
G,
the athletics?
my understanding that has to do with, previously these people were on Darlene's side, and then anyone who's
What does that mean?
It was on-
under the
Oh, yeah.
operational expenses versus under personnel, and anyone who does not work for us now has to show us if, under the personnel budget. And then it's moved, so there was money under athletics in the operating side to pay different non-Mashpee coaches. And the athletic trainer at that time she also got moved to the employee side.
Yeah.
You can explain that.
That makes sense.
Well, 33,000 of that, of the 41, is the trainer. And the other balance, whatever it is, $8,000 is the salary increase. In other words, the trainer was being paid as a private vendor. And we moved
On the
her
expense
over,
side.
yeah, on the expense side, and we moved her over to the salary side as required by the IRS, because we do direct it.
So it's not really a total budget increase, it's just that.
No,
line
it's
item.
just moving
Yes.
from the expense side.
Well, hold on though, if that was the
Okay.
case,
Athletics goes up on the expense side.
right, why does athletics go up on the expense side? I would expect athletics to come down by that amount. Instead, it's going up
Well,
by,
It only went up 6,000, if you look at athletic expenses, it went up $6,709. There are increases to referees. Now, the referees are still on that side.
Oh, it actually went up $47,000.
41.
Because you took $41,000 out of the budget.
Oh,
And you-
yeah, yeah.
Oh, right,
Yeah,
you moved
so-
it up.
No, 33.
30.
33. The other ones were already over there, Jeff. The other 8,000 is the increase, salary increases that were voted.
Yes.
Y- y- y-
So you're talking 39. So
Yeah,
Well, I'm talking 41,180. It's 41,180. Take 33 off of that. I rounded it to 8,000, but it's 8,180. That's the increase that was negotiated for the coaches.
Are
All
you
the
taking
coaches.
33,000 out?
Because that's the trainer. If you look at the figure, 41,180.
Mm-hmm.
Of that 41,180, okay, 33,000 of it increase is the trainer being moved over here.
I get that, I get that.
so.
You get it? No, I want you to.
No, I'm gonna let John's got, he's got his calculator, so I'm gonna do his magic.
So if I added that 33,000 back into the expense line item, that would have made our expenses go up by 22% for athletics
I
in
mean,
1
just-
year.
Well, it could.
And you're saying that's all because of officials?
No.
Some of the
Transportation?
The athletic would have been in 19 too. They're operating. So it's not like you would have taken the 180 in FY19 and added 40 or 33.
Well,
It's already in there.
so it was already up above in 19?
Right.
So why are you,
No, it was in the operating. It was on the expense side.
was in the expense side?
Right. So what you're saying is that should have come out. I follow it. I can go back and check that.
You see where we're coming from? If you take the 41,000 out, then the level funded, level service for the athletics is, is $140,000.
Instead we have,
I have 187, so it's,
I'll have to look at that.
Okay,
'Cause
I'm with you.
those requests come in from the athletic director.
I just can't believe
They
it.
should be right. In fact, they're all broken down. Let me,
I mean, this is a draft too, so we expect
yeah,
good conversation.
absolutely.
and some
Absolutely.
things to come from this later on.
absolutely.
Okay, but, so what's going into Munis on the 20th? Because we don't have another meeting before then.
and we've talked about that before. I mean, what drives that requirement to put it in Munis? I mean, we don't even have to present a budget until February.
The town manager.
Is that a
Because
request? Is that, I mean, where is?
Yeah, that's a request from the town manager.
Because he's trying to pull together a townwide budget.
We can put it in there and change it, as long as we don't change the bottom line.
Well, let's please not put a 1.5%
Well-
budget in Munis this time.
Huh?
Let's not put a 1.5% budget. in Munis.
I never put a 1 point.
What was it?
1.97.
1.97.
No, 2.97.
I don't,
All right.
Yeah, 2.97.
the original wasn't 2.97.
Yes, it was. That's what I presented.
Oh, yeah, it was.
But you went up to, what was it, 4.45?
Yeah, because that was
I like
level
that one.
service.
Yeah.
So I mean, you have the budget calendar that's in the packet, which I believe is deadline for submission of budgets and meetings in September 20th.
That's not in the chart. So I'm just curious where that came from, that's all I'm asking. And if it's a request from the town, then
Oh, it says September 28th, not the 20th.
Right.
But we don't have another September meeting.
Oh,
We don't have one on the schedule.
yeah, I love this whole town business. It makes more sense.
so what, so is this what's going in?
Yep.
Okay, let's just,
That's why I got it to you in June, to hopefully to work on it over the summer. Now, if
jeez,
you,
was that a jab?
no. Jeez,
It's very difficult to work on when you
Ouch.
have no idea
Ouch.
what the 15.54% increases are. This is all working, you know what, next year it's gonna be even smoother, and in 10 years, it's gonna be cake.
Yep.
I'll be retired in the Bahamas, exactly, it'll write itself.
Okay.
Well, I mean, the scary thing is we're gonna load this in there without a solid explanation of what it represents.
Well, there's never a solid explanation of what it represents, right?
Nope. Oh,
No,
sure.
but we can make it. We can make it solid.
No, but I mean, what, Munis doesn't allow you to submit a narrative. You're not,
No.
No,
you're not
no,
no,
explaining
no,
anything.
No.
No,
And you
subsequently
can,
you have to explain.
Yeah.
and I'm sure when we get into speaking with the town manager on this budget, there's gonna be some changes.
Yeah,
And-
so,
And we can,
And to clarify, this is something that we're doing because we were asked and requested to do this.
absolutely,
We can make changes and are under no obligation to not make changes. Right? They prefer us not to, but if this committee decided that we absolutely want to submit a change and make a change,
as long as the bottom line,
now why is that? I mean, because we're fulfilling a request. This is not anything that's in the charter, this is nothing, no written agreement. Now, granted, we don't want to do something like that, that's not really the business that we're in, but if this committee decided that we just don't like the numbers, or there's something we need to change in this budget, and it's going to change the bottom line, that's something that we should have the right to do.
I'm not gonna comment on that. I think that's a discussion you have to have with the town.
I agree, but
I
That's
mean,
not
it-
my purview.
But at this point, what you're submitting to the town is an unapproved budget,
That is
Yes.
correct.
right?
That is correct. The school committee does not approve it until January. I think it's on that
Yes.
School
list.
budget adopted by school committee is due to the town manager January 18th, so although he may get a ballpark, until you vote on it.
Exactly.
Yeah, until you vote on it.
Budget could be different.
well, yeah, but so this timeline's troubling for a few reasons. I mean, so when do we have our conversation with the town manager?
It should be on there. I don't know.
I don't see it on here.
No?
No. So September 28th, it has to be in Munis. Then October 12th, they send it to the selectmen and the FinCom for review. So whatever we submit into Munis is gonna go, it's gonna constitute what might be a draft request, even if we decide to trim from that at some point. When do we have that conversation, or when do we get to explain our budget?
There is a time when we do meet with him, and it's early on initially to explain. It's not on here, though, we must specific chart when he meets with each department.
Because it was shortly after you gave me the 4.45 budget. that we had. Who was there with you? Don?
George.
I think
George.
George was last year.
Well, there was one time when George was gone, and I was there with Rodney and you, and he was like out of town or something. I was the alternate, and that was in the fall.
Yeah, I mean, they're gonna, they'll start reviewing it after they get it in October.
Does anybody else have anything on this topic? or subject? Any
Just
more comments?
general
This is more
alarm, but
like-
no.
No?
General sweating.
Yeah, but I would, with respect to the narrative then, this becomes extremely more important. We're not really, I mean, I can send you some comments, but one of the things I thought about since our conversation was that I've seen a number of school districts put together presentations for their towns that essentially constitute a narrative and explain. I've never seen one that looks like a book. They're usually presentations and slides, potentially. So we could think about condensing this into some slides with notes, or with, short statements, but maybe not as dense, because I think when I even get to the summary,
Yeah, well, that doesn't have to be on there, we talked about that, but I have several others from other districts that are quite book-like. They may present them as slides, which I would agree we would do, but it's a
So
book
maybe
like
two
pretty-
things.
I mean, you've seen,
Yeah, no, we would take from there and create a more.
Right, but we would hand them this and then do the presentation. Is that what you're suggesting? What were you gonna say, Jeff?
oh no, I was gonna say, I know they, like, when Miss, forget her name, she always teaches, she's now one of the officers at Mass, but she always presented the budget conference, little budget meeting training at MASC, I'm sorry. Did you go to that?
Yeah,
So that, I mean, they have I'm not, like an inch and a half book for their budget. It's an actual physical book, and they like win all sorts of awards and stuff, so. You know what I'm talking about? I can't remember her name.
Right. Didn't they present a lot of supporting detail in that?
Oh, yeah, I mean, that's a ridiculously detailed document. I'm not saying to go down that road, I just think, I think we have to find a fine line between detail and the ability for someone to absorb it sitting in a public meeting.
Yeah, I mean, my concern is
These charts are awesome.
we don't even get to talking about the budget per se until page 9. And this is supposed to be explaining the budget. So I think we talk about a lot of good things that we're doing. But if the focal point of this is explaining our budget and why the justification for it, I think that needs to be a
It's a
little,
little on page 4.
a little. Let's see, page 4. And the revised one, let's see. Page
No, it
4.
was always a-
Oh, your budget message,
Okay. I see the paragraph. But I go from there and then I get lost until page 9, so.
And I have to admit that I actually had my BuzzBuilt had two completely different documents. One was the narrative describing the budget, right? And one is our public hearing budget presentation. And like this, I don't know if this can do both or whatever, but.
Suggestions. I modeled this after looking at other districts in terms of all the categories that they have.
I think this, I mean, I have no problem with this, but I do have to admit, I see where Don's coming from, that,
I mean,
I-
having sat on the other side of the table,
yeah.
I don't want us to get skewered right off the bat. And we need to be prepared to be able to answer those questions and justify
Yeah.
what we're asking for.
But I also don't want to think, I don't think that we need to use, I think this is great, but I don't think we need to use this. This isn't something I'm going to throw at somebody and say, all right, see you at town meeting. You know what I mean? This is something that we're going to use to inform the public and ultimately the town about what we want to do with this school district, and this is the money that we need to do it. And then I kind of see kind of like levels of detail, right? This is probably the most detailed. The presentation that Paul gives during the public hearing is much more focused and to the point, and then any kind of actual individual kind of shots that come across the bow that we can tackle. That was my understanding when we had all our discussions at the working group about how we wanted to model this. But again, like always, I always defer to the Democratic. If we think we need to move this down to a couple pages, or we need to have a detailed one and a kind of a brief overview one.
I agree, but I agree on its purpose. I think part of what Don's saying that I would agree with is that this might serve a purpose for a certain audience.
Yeah.
Where this wouldn't be something that I would suggest we give to, say, like the selectmen or the FinCom, because not all of it. You know what I mean? Because then, to be honest, I don't know if they're going to read it all. You know what I mean? And especially when you start shuffling through the pages and you're looking at it, and you just want to get to the numbers, because really, when you're talking budget, that's really what they want to know.
But we're trying to
want
stay
them-
away from that, though.
Oh, I
About the
understand
numbers,
that.
that's the whole purpose. It's
I-
all been about numbers for years and years and years, and they're missing the big picture, which is, what are those numbers?
Absolutely,
You know?
but when it's too much,
Yeah.
everything else, then they're not, it's either, they're gonna read it a little bit or none. So when it's too much, you know how that is, you get a big document, you really wanna know something. So when it's too much, you just, yeah, you don't even wanna read any of it. So I don't know, maybe it was a happy medium that we can come up with,
I'm with Patty.
but I think this is great.
With recommendations.
I just think we need to be more articulate in regard to the specific reasons for increases that we're asking. And I think we have the answers, it's just articulating them.
I might add some two-to-one-one stuff in there too, I didn't see a lot of it. I think it's important for people to understand that we have a goal in mind and that we've done a lot with a little. I don't want to say a little because we get fun as well, but I mean, we've done a lot more, I think, than what we expected to with the amount that we got, especially over the last couple of cycles. I think it's important to put that out. And, you know, use that as kind of a segue into the fact, showing, you know, how we have our gap graph showing that at some point, you know, the cradle's gonna break kind of thing. So I will take any recommendations from you guys. If you, and I know you guys, we can go online and just do them right on the forum, right? And we can discuss them with the working group and represent, document, you know, V 1.0 to you guys at the next meeting. Or
Is that when we'll see another one?
Yeah, I think we would want to continue to work through it
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
until it matches with the budget maybe the vote in January.
But the timeline, I'm gonna just request from my fellow board members that our time is short. And if you have a comment, you can't wait until the board meeting to give it.
Mhm.
And, I'm talking about formatting stuff, not a comment for open. So please put that on the SharePoint, the share site.
So just a question in regard to the SharePoint site, because I tried to provide the superintendent some feedback, and there was difficulty in sharing the document.
Well,
That's what
only
your
one
comments.
comment, but it's because I shared it as a view, only a comment only on your end. But we'll have a version where you can all do whatever you want to it. That's part of the problem.
Oh, okay, so
I saw one comment.
I'll keep,
I
yeah, I
have
saw the comments from
multiple.
Jeff.
Don't say.
Oh, that's great.
That's good.
Separate
But
copy,
unfortunately,
one that
one of
everybody
them-
can have.
Yeah, on the very first page.
went through, everything else did not.
Does anybody else have anything on this, or, I mean, always hit Patty or Paul with questions later on? or-
Well, I think what I failed to do is what I always forget to do with my kids, which is to point out all the things I like about it before I start to talk about the things I don't like.
I don't have a personal.
So I apologize for that, but I do like the, I like the charts. I think some of them can be improved visually, you know, if we're gonna include them, but I like the addition of a table for the revenue sources, and I like, the graph showing level services, you know, grants going down, and, you know, sort of how the implications of that. I really, you know, I love this stuff. I love it. But I don't think this pages 5 through 7 and 14 and 15 have a place in what we are giving to the town. I'm kind of focused on how we are presenting our budget to Rodney and the Board of Selectmen and the FinCom and explaining it. I think there are probably bits in those pages that we should include, but I think they are overwhelm the document. It's 6 pages of stuff that we need to whittle down to maybe 500 words or less, maybe 300 words. And we've got to, I think that's the challenging task of this timeline, is like trying to figure out how to be persuasive but also accurate. And so anyway, I think some of that's valuable context, but it's more like reference material, not like in the explanation.
The other the other point that I think needs to be considered is, taking a look at what is one-time versus run rate expenditures. So, for example, curriculum changes and updates, I believe, are a one-time expenditure, not something that would be in our run rate. Because if someone was to look at this and say, oh my gosh, they're asking for this, and next year it's going to be the same thing, and so forth and so on, that's truly not what the case, I believe.
I would say it's periodic, not one time, right?
Well,
I mean,
periodic,
yeah, it's not like an annual expense, but it can be. It could
We
be.
do curriculum reviews of different
Yeah.
content areas every year.
Yeah.
So I would just urge you to not underrun.
Yeah.
well, and part of the
Right.
explanation needs to be, so if these are being done on an annual basis, why haven't we seen those expenditures in prior years? Right? So it's kind of like the Big Bang Theory. We're holding up. All right, now we're going to do it. Oh my God, it costs $10 million like our building did, right? Because we put off maintaining stuff when we should have been doing it all the way along. And then people go, oh my God, all this money, and it's all justified, but it's a lot of angst to get there. And then the other part of that, or related part of that, then is looking at, all right, what is absolute in regard to, if we can't do all of this, what can we do? Right? So, for example, curriculum update. Instead of doing all of it, we do half of it. It's not ideal, maybe an alternative, but we need to know what those alternatives potentially could be. And how did we rationalize that, we couldn't do that? Because that will be, in my mind, part of the question that will come up. And that's just because it comes up in my mind. So, I expect that the people that are looking at it will at least be as smart as I am to ask the same question. So, anyway, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Well, if nobody else has anything really pressing, obviously, because I think we're about a half hour behind, so
At least.
we'll move on. Yeah, half hour. All right, so we'll move on from the budget. Mr. Funk, thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Thanks, Paul.
Thanks, Paul.
And next we got the report of the superintendent. This is the board.
Very quickly, I know Mary Kate shared a little bit about Quashnet School. Generally, from my observation, all three schools had a very smooth start. There definitely was a feeling in all buildings I was in that it was very calm and orderly. The kids were very excited to be back. I know in our office, even in terms of the busing, the usual calls that come in on the first day that kindergarten rides didn't happen. Everything seemed to be pretty smooth. And I know that last week in terms of the high school, they had the fall sports night, which was probably not as well as attended as I might have liked to see. And then all three schools had fire drills already. High school had an extra one. And that was due to a fire alarm in the maintenance area that had condensation in it that caused it, I guess, to go off. And then the Coon School has an open house tomorrow night. Are children invited to that?
Yes.
Yes, children are invited. But generally, in all the classrooms I've been in, other than, our teachers are definitely troopers for working with the heat in the building that is, enhanced when you add 98-degree bodies of children. And so they've really endured a lot of fans, a lot of finding fans that seem to move around during the summer. But hoping that we eventually break the humidity. So I'm grateful for all the teachers that the heat's been in. Second on my list is school choice. You have a chart in your packet. We currently have 22 remaining seats open, and we're going to communicate this to the families. I know that, we have situations where families leave and they may not realize all they have to do is apply for choice, and then they're set for the rest of the time their child's here. So we want to make sure in my weekly emails, we let them know how many seats are available. Total choice students are 96 right now. In terms of the personnel report, just that we have our new administrative assistant hired at the Pool School, Erin Trainer was her name, and that was to replace a person who resigned at the end of last year. The next document in your, on page 59 of the packet is 59 and 60. 59 is really just a refresher on our blueprint for progress, but on page 60 and I guess 60 and 61 are my two goals, which are aligned with the other administrators in the district, and then we all have our own set of action steps to accomplish that. So we're trying to be as unified as are the teachers, who sort of dovetail with each other district-wide. Of course, that's the door on the other side. Just be a person walking. Anyone have any questions on those?
Any questions? No? Good, thanks, Ben. Appreciate it. All right, we'll move on to the next agenda item. We have update on the school committee working groups, and that will also be Mr. Moore.
So the financial roadmap, goal 1A, is meeting on the 18th. So I think we don't have anything to update on that. The efficiency and effectiveness group did meet, I think it was last Friday.
Yes.
And yes, that's right, you and Mr. Smith were there, and we are drafting a handbook, a school committee handbook, that really is ideal for handing to a new member, but it also will sort of clarify how we want to do things. But that will be something, what we envision is as we do a section, it will come before the school committee to sort of add anything that you want to, sort of like we did when we reviewed our and updated our policy manual. So we'll keep the school committee group in the loop, and then any edits, and then we'll continue to work through that topic.
Just a quick comment on that too. It's not nearly as thick as the policy manual. It's actually, very thin. But the example that was grabbed by Patty's office, it was the information that was in that document would have been extremely helpful as a new member, and still very helpful today. As a member that's been here for 4 years, and still. So I'm excited to work off of that template. I think it's a very good document.
Well, it's a great idea.
And then over when our next meeting is, we've got all the dates on page 65 are off the dates. October 1st is the next efficiency and effectiveness. The data-driven inclusive stakeholder communication plan, I believe we're meeting on the 20th. And I think Nicole might wanted to share some thoughts on that.
Well, I give you each just a quick handout to just talk about, just as we, during our retreat, discussed sort of what the end game is for each of these working groups, and sort of what that product is. I hate this name, stakeholder communications plan, because it just doesn't sound like anything real. But one of the things that, so I just tried to organize it with, put it in the context of our goal and the action that we all agreed to. And then some of the, I think what I would like to see happen is just to be able to articulate, our overall plan for engagement and communications in the district. And these are some of the things that we're already doing, and this is just kind of how they're divided. I just kind of group them in these bins, and so I'd love ideas for different bins, to include those in this broader plan. Jeff and I are going to be meeting with Patty and Hope on the 20th to sort of put a little more into this, but I just wanted to sort of put it under your nose and give you the chance to think about it and think of anything that might be missing. You know, I think that it's everything from, you know, the things we've added over the last year, like the survey and the essay challenge, and also the partnership team meetings with the tribe that are a big component of engagement in Mashpee. And then I put the portrait of a graduate thing in there. I know that's a goal of yours, but we haven't really, you know, discussed that in depth yet. And then the other things that we've added, like participating in town events, and also, you know, kind of how we engage as a group with the community and service to the community, and also, you know, the volunteer networks that Patty's created to help bring people into our schools to help connect them better to our students. And then this last category I need a better name for, infrastructure, is kind of, to my mind, tangible things, like the store, like the sign, like, you know, the audio system in our auditorium, things that impact, you know, when you come to a school event, when we welcome the public to our schools, there are facilities within our schools that get a lot more airtime than others. And we want those to be really positive experiences for the community. And so I think of improvements to those facilities as kind of having a communications bent to them, because it's sort of how we communicate with the broader Mashpee community. And then Jeff, you had always, I didn't really know where the Falcon Foundation kind of fit into this, but I see that as a part of this as well. So I'm just trying to kind of make sure we get everything down that we want included in the plan, and sort of understand if you guys have any thoughts. You know, my tenure on the working group will be up in May, so I'm just also looking for, you know, people who might be interested.
So just one, again, I think this is a great list of items. What I would like to see also, though, is more thought in regard to school committee public relations. Items that the school committee can do to enhance, you know, our relationship with our stakeholders.
Okay.
And I see a few things here, but I think
Any ideas?
So maybe there's a bin that's really more school committee centric. That's more about getting people to know us and our role. And
well, so for example, you know, we don't put out a communication,
right,
per se, but the superintendent does. There's no reason why the school committee could not also, from time to time, put out a publication, you know, particularly like on the budget. That would be an ideal sort of activity. I mean,
it's a good one.
So, build on that.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's just what I needed.
I remember my out of the box.
Okay.
And
So out of the box, you don't want to mention it now.
Another quick example I know came up a few times over the years was the potential of having almost like an outdoor meeting. Like maybe there's something that's tied into a school
That's
barbecue
actually,
event.
that should be on this list, the idea of
And we
moving the
had
site for our
Our
meetings.
meeting outdoors, following, you know, like a school kind of like the one Friday, but not taking over the one that's gonna happen on Friday. But something similar to that, and then our meeting would fall like at the tail end of that. You might want to stick around. Outside, light agenda.
I like it.
So,
But that's
Just an
what,
idea, I'm just
but
throwing that out
it,
there.
no, but I would put that in the bin of how we've discussed moving the school committee meetings around
Exactly, yeah.
to different places and locations to get
Yeah.
better engagement. So give me a better title for that.
Yep.
That's your assignment. Okay, thank
Don't
you.
like moving school
I'll have
committee
to.
meetings, but okay.
Need something short.
Okay.
Okay. Great, thank you.
Okay, and then the last of your goals is to communicate school start time, plans as they're developed. And I put the chart, I think you all have, there's sort of a, you're welcome to come to these meetings. That wasn't my understanding that you had to come. What we'll be doing is sharing it back out with you, and then we'll, as a group, be communicating that to stakeholders, but you're welcome to come. So you, on this list, you can see, we sort of created a skeletal structure of topics, and then who would be there to, hash out the topic. And they're only really designed to be an hour-long meeting, but there will be probably follow-up depending on how each meeting goes.
Where are they?
They
Oh,
are
superintendent's
in the
office, okay.
So what we can do is report out at each public meeting after we've had, and sort of come up with a draft plan around that. Suggestion.
Would you mind just adding me to the calendar, having Gail add me to the calendar entries for those? Because if they do move or get changed, then I know that they're moved. Because there's a few, I might not want to come to all of them, but there's a couple that I would definitely want to make sure I get to.
Yeah. And I would say the same thing.
Do you have a notional timeline for kind of the rollout in terms of when we would be talking about or releasing a draft implementation plan or discussing that with the public? Is that like an April?
Earlier than April.
Okay, so
I would like all
February.
of this sort of really tightened up, and so here are, if you need, childcare, here are the options that are going to be available to you, whatever the cost is, all of that, so parents can start to plan. I would love to have it be more like January, February, that was deadlines
Okay.
with everything laid out. Not everyone needs to know everything about custodial work schedules. It's not something that members need to know
Right,
about.
right.
And I think there's a few key topics they want to know about, but the rest really is a behind-the-scenes piece that they don't need to know about.
So the idea, it looks like based on your schedule, the idea is to really get all the content, the information gathered and have the conversations and everything, and then sort of do all that before the holidays, before the Christmas break or holiday break, and then come back in January, February, and okay, all right, that's great, thank you.
School custodians, we don't really have anything else to add yet. We were going to set up a meeting to discuss with Catherine Rand some of the brainstorming, so. School committee meeting times, you have on page 62. This is the approved calendar meeting times for this year, and I think we talked about somewhat enjoying the 5 o'clock start time in the summer, and we're wondering about a 5:30 start time from here on out, and how people felt about that.
Yeah, so last meeting, Don, I think you were not present for that one.
Yep.
There was some light discussion on on the times, and I think we've come to some kind of conclusion. I know Nicole had to check on the obligations with the collaborative. She's done that, and we had kind of discussed maybe more like a 5:30 as a potential happy medium between the 5 o'clock that we were doing over the summer and the 6:30 that we currently do. So we figured we'd bring it to the table this meeting, have more discussion on it, potentially vote on changing the times from 6:30 to 5:30 or whatever time this committee would potentially like to do that.
So what is the rationale for changing?
Part of it is, for instance, it is now 8:30 at night, and we still have some agenda left here to get through. So by going to an earlier time, if we get out a little, get home from the meeting a little earlier, maybe actually see the family sometimes at night, on meeting nights, and, get to bed. And not have to worry about, sometimes the agenda's getting too full. I know that's part of the reason. I know everybody else is probably gonna have their own
So
reasons, but.
did we discuss potential impact on public participation, although it's probably not good to bring up tonight since there's no public here. But, I did just a quick look at the surrounding schools to see when their meetings were. And I found one that started at 5:30, that being Bourne. Everyone else, actually, most of them started later than us.
Out of curiosity, why is it important what the other school committees do?
Well, I'm trying to rationalize why, if what I'm hearing is we want to get our meetings done sooner, I'm just trying to rationalize public participation and their ability to be able to participate in the meetings. So if we start at 5:30, that's right in the middle of dinner time for a lot of families.
For some, but, just like anything else, you're gonna have a group that it's gonna be good for, you're gonna have a group that it's not gonna be good for.
Right.
Right now, I would say if we're filling these seats, or even had 5 people here every meeting, I would say that, maybe we should be concerned with, is it good for them or not? But there's a chance maybe we should do it at 5:30, and we all of a sudden get people that come. If we don't, then we're in no worse situation. If it doesn't work out, if we start hearing complaints, hey, this doesn't work out for us, we'd like to come, we can change it back. Also for people that are watching at home, which I would assume that the majority of people that do pay attention to what we're doing at these meetings, it may work out better for them because they can still get things they need to get done. Just like I was talking about getting to bed early or whatever they need to do to get the kids to bed. It's kind of a catch-22, really. 6:30, 5:30 is going to work for some, it's not going to work for others. This committee may like it, it may not. But I think it's worth discussing. And, I know last week we talked about it a little bit, and it did work out well over the summer.
I think too, if you're going to have a topic that is of interest, you can schedule it on the agenda at a time that might be later than the 5:30, so you might schedule it at 7 if it's something that you want to make sure people have an opportunity to kind of attend.
Yeah, we might move public comment to be at 7.
Oh, we do,
For-
currently we do.
Yeah,
currently put it on both
yeah, we could have it,
at the
but
beginning and end.
I'm curious, because, they're, other than us and these two, there's these folks that are regular attendees. I'm curious whether you've checked with your leadership team to see whether they prefer an earlier time or not.
What would you prefer?
I mean, do you guys all go home and have dinner with your families and then come back, or do you?
Oh, yes, I drive all the way to Dartmouth.
Let's go. I spoke up.
I
Let's
like
go.
earlier start.
Let's make a decision over there.
I like earlier as well.
If we start earlier, will we end earlier, or will
Hopefully.
That's the plan. That's the plan.
No, what'll happen is we'll have more time for a bigger agenda.
Yeah.
That's what I'm afraid of.
Well, sometimes, and to be honest, sometimes that may be warranted to leave more time for a bigger agenda. But if we have one, we won't be here till 9, 10 o'clock. We'll be here till maybe 7:30, 8:30,
Yeah.
and personally, I'm okay with that, but I don't, the committee has to decide. And
Mr. Chair, can I add something?
Yes.
That didn't get mentioned from last time when we were not here, Don, was that people felt that the end of the agenda tends to get really rushed because we're exhausted.
Yes.
And I say we collectively, I don't mean it's really,
Yeah.
And so some of the real meat of what we talk about with those working groups is at the end, but we don't want to move the kids to the, so that was another piece that was addressed in August at the school committee meeting that just didn't come out tonight.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, I think the other thing was doing the early meeting over the summer. We all felt, I felt that it worked, and it was a little bit easier. We seem to get, now, the agendas aren't as dense in the summer, so it just felt like we had kind of maybe kick-started something that we could continue. I would be unable to attend 2 collaborative meetings this year if we went with an earlier start time, but I've already communicated that to the collaborative so that their quorum isn't affected. It is not, it's sometimes it's about seeing your family, but it's also like, I'm paying a sitter tonight because my husband's out of town, so sooner I get out of here, the better.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
So I think it's just balancing, what we have to do to be here against, the need to have the meetings public and accessible and everything. So I think if these guys are game, they're our primary audience 9 times out of 10. So,
Well, I think the other question then that we ought to consider is whether or not, given that we've combined a bunch of meetings already, whether or not we could combine more meetings and just have.
God, if you want to hold that thought for a couple more items, we are going to get to that.
Okay. Because
yeah.
I don't see that on, is that on the calendar?
Yeah, school committee
Upcoming dates, upcoming.
No, I don't
Well,
think.
No, I'm sorry.
We did
No,
talk
we didn't
about
get that specific. Oh.
The goal was to eventually consider, except during certain budget.
Okay, maybe that's not what that was going to be, but yeah, that is something that the effective and efficiency group discussed very briefly at our last meeting, that we want to start looking at the potential and discussing that with the group of which dates, obviously bringing Paul into the conversation because certain ones with the budget and all that, and discuss which ones we may potentially be able to combine beyond the ones we already did.
Yeah, because when on the sheet that I gave you, I found it interesting that Barnstable, which is a much larger district, can meet at 7 o'clock once a month and accomplish their entire business. So either we're doing something wrong, or they're.
Well, we are an amazing school committee.
Yeah, I
Can't
know,
speak
we
for
are.
You
Barnstable,
guys have to wonder if
but-
they have a financial subcommittee.
Yeah.
You know what? That makes me want to go to one of their meetings.
You find
Oh,
out.
Yeah.
See what they're actually
Yeah,
doing.
see what they're doing.
Yeah.
But, and then the other piece of that, and Nicole
Sure,
touched
we're
on it a
not
little bit, and Hope did as well, is there's really 2 pieces to these meetings. Is one, getting the information out to the public, and inviting them into what we're doing here, and also participate in what's going on. And then the other is for us to get the job done and be productive. And I felt we were more productive a little bit earlier. Like I said, Hope had touched on it a little bit. When we get towards the end of the agenda, we're still, I want to say, a little more awake at the earlier meeting, so we tend to be a little more productive as these meetings drag on later and later. There's one thing we can think about, and that's pretty much going to bed. So that's another rationale that kind of is behind this issue. So, yeah, so we can continue with comments or anything, or if anybody wants to make a motion or not make a motion.
Do we need
Well,
to,
it's not on the agenda for a
It
bit.
is.
Is it?
Yes.
do we need, I guess I can just make the motion, but if we're gonna have further discussions about combining these, do we run the risk of, we don't run the risk of having any issues if we still continue to have our meetings? We've already had our meetings in an unapproved calendar, so there's no real hurry, right?
In the unapproved calendar, this was approved.
Yeah,
Well,
we voted on
Because
this.
you have to vote if you want to change the
Change the
start
time.
time.
Oh, the times, I'm sorry, okay.
Yeah.
That's right, I forgot, I remember voting on it. So I'm wondering if we should table this and then have your discussion with the, not table, excuse me, postpone until the, I move to postpone this line item until the completion of the discussion at the Improved Effectiveness and Efficiency School Committee Working Group.
And we want to have is there a second on that?
I'll second it.
Okay. We have a A motion by Jeff and a second by Don. Just real quick discussion on my piece for that. So having to be one of the people on the working group to discuss that, I think it would be easier to have that discussion if we knew, because if we were talking about if we start earlier, then combining the meetings might be an easier pill to swallow because we'd have more time. Towards the end of the day.
I just
So-
meant we sort of have to vote on this again.
No, I understand, but that's kind of one of the things that we were
Yeah.
talking about. Well, if we do
That's
move it earlier, then
that's
it'd be
a
easier to
valid
combine. But if we don't know whether or not we're gonna move it earlier, it makes it a little more difficult of a decision whether or not we're gonna combine.
I also have concern that we're making this decision that really does affect individuals without George.
George was here, and I don't wanna speak for him,
Yeah.
but he was here last meeting.
Yeah, he was.
And did
Yeah,
express.
he did express, I remember that.
But, yeah, you're right.
Yep.
Anyway.
He's on our efficiency meeting.
He is on the.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, I
exactly.
did express
So,
it.
but again, we cannot speak for him.
Yeah, I
We're
got
not here
you.
to vote,
Yeah.
but.
No, but I understand either way. I mean, we have a motion and a second. I'll withdraw the motion but we can vote on it. I don't know. It's up to you.
I would make a different motion if you withdraw yours.
No, I don't want to withdraw.
I
Well, we wanna
want
just
to
vote on it.
move.
Just kidding. No, well, I have a second. I can't just withdraw the motion.
Okay, so if there's no other discussion on this motion that's on the table,
So we have to vote on tabling it?
yes.
Postponing.
Postponing it?
It's not too.
If you table it, we have to take it up the next meeting.
I wrote postpone.
Okay. Nicole?
No.
No.
Yes.
No.
I'm shocked that the second said no.
That's 3 no's and 1 yes. Motion did not pass. Okay, so do we?
I'd like to move that we change the meeting times for the Mashpee School Committee beginning at the next meeting to 5:30 PM. Is that the right motion?
For the remaining.
For the remaining meetings of the school year.
So that would just be for.
For the remaining of FY 19,
19.
18, 19.
Yeah, let's see how it goes.
I'll second it.
Yeah, you voted.
All right, motion by Nicole, do we have a second? Second by Don? I did not either.
He's full of
Getting
seconds.
late. All right, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, Nicole?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yes? Motion passed, 3-1. Don?
That was interesting, Tom.
I can second the motion. I don't have to agree with you.
It's
He's just
correct.
trying to
You need
keep
second
things
for discussion?
interesting.
All right, so just to be clear for any public that's watching or will watch this later, our preceding meeting will be at 5:30 PM here at the Quashnet Library. All right. Next would be the essay challenge update. Patty, any update on that?
So we did get approval from the moderator, apparently. So at the town meeting, which is on October 15th, that will be when we announce the winner of the essay contest and also present the check to the winner. So we're hopeful that everybody that we need to be present is able to be present. So we're going to do that at the beginning of the meeting, and then we'll have, I think the only music contribution we might suggest would be always is to have students in the national. Read the essay and recognize the winner. We do intend to create posters of all of the essays with the author's name on each one, and hopefully have them sort of displayed outside the auditorium at town meeting as well, and they'll eventually end up at various locations, maybe the library also, in the schools. And then they'll be posted online as well.
So has the winner been chosen
The
at this
winner
point?
has been chosen.
Okay. So has the winner
Whoever
been,
owns essay 16.
so the winner has not been contacted yet? Because I guess my only concern would be if the winner wants to participate in all of
Right,
this,
no,
you know, you never
We
know.
intend to connect with
Yeah.
them so that we can see if they're available.
Okay. Thank you. All right, next we have something that we discussed at last meeting and we will vote on tonight, the naming of the Mashpee High School Library. This was something that was presented to us a little while back. We went through the policy, and then last meeting we had them come in and speak with us about renaming the Mashpee Middle High School Library to the Janice Mills Library. who was a long-time, very active, productive school committee member here in Mashpee.
Point of order though, I thought the new policy said that you guys were a public hearing.
We did not, we just had to have a waiting period. That's why we didn't
Oh,
vote
okay.
last meeting.
I apologize.
We just had to.
Again, going by memory.
Yeah, it was the policy, and we had it in the packet last meeting for that.
Remember?
So it said something along the lines of just a waiting period to allow the public to
Right.
interject if they
Got it. Okay,
wanted
cool.
to. So,
Thank you.
no problem.
Did we get anything from
I
them?
personally did not hear any feedback from anybody. I don't know if the administration did.
Okay. Me neither.
So that being said, if we could have a motion, please.
I move to name the Mashpee Middle High School Library. What's going to be the full?
It's the Janice and Mills.
The Janice and Mills
And Mills.
Library.
Library.
My second.
All right, we have a motion by Jeff and second by Nicole. Is there any further discussion on this? Hearing none, Nicole?
Yes.
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 And yes. Motion passed unanimously.
And so I thought I would reach out to the family too, to see what they might like on the box.
Yes.
And what it would look like.
And maybe if we have some sort of public ceremony, that could be something that you could discuss with the leadership team on Monday with the tribe. So that could be something on our, like, action item for this academic year.
And last on this, I do want to just thank the people who brought this to our attention. This is going to be a great memorial for a very good person, so thank you once again for bringing this to our attention. All right, next we have the FY20 capital improvement request.
So in your packet, you have page 63. You did see part of this, I think, at the last meeting. What we did was we moved the technology down below because apparently every year they give Sean about $30,000. So we didn't want that included. These are ordered, but what could happen is if we were to approach the end of FY19 and there was any wiggle room, which there doesn't look like there will be, but if there were wiggle room, something like the auditorium sound system would be something we would try to do, because these are all FY20. This final version has not yet gone to the town manager. And then like we talked about at the last meeting, over in that left column, sort of a designation. These are all requests that the schools want, but because it's facility related, it really would fall under a different category in that sense. So the safety improvements are something we definitely want, but our schools are very safe the way they are right now, but we would want to sort of, 2.0 for safety. The auditorium is very important because it is very much a face of the district. It's a location that many events are held outside. Groups like to use that space, so that's very important. As you go down the list, the cafeteria lighting at the high school is really poor. If it's cloudy in the morning when the kids are there, if you have any kind of evening event, you really can't see what's going on very well in the cafeteria. It's just got that, I don't know what kind of lighting that's called, that's currently there, it's just poor.
Not good lighting.
It's
It's almost like sconces, they're covered in the front and they just project
Yeah.
light up, so it's not great on a really cloudy, dark day in the wintertime. It's tough to get good light in the morning in any night event.
And we have a lot of those.
Right, and I think that there's a, wiring wise, just change out what's there to something more effective. I don't think that would be.
Can I ask a question about safety? Has there ever been any discussion about putting like balustrades in front of the windows at the high school?
In the cab?
Not in the cab, but like on the sidewalk there?
Oh, so people can't drive through?
Yeah.
Good question.
It'd be awesome if we could add that as a safety
Yeah.
upgrade.
So
As a
just
request.
things that come up and maybe along the sidewalk?
Just so we can make them nice and pretty and they can
Yep.
be concrete.
Plants.
Right from the building.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Please don't.
Well, that's good reference, though.
She said she was going to strike them.
I was joking.
The poles that you put on the sidewalk.
And you want them on the sidewalks?
Yeah, they'd have to be on the sidewalks. The road's not big enough. I would assume they'd be like on the edge of the sidewalk in front of the windows to the
So
cafeteria.
be able
I
to
see.
drive through. it would have been nice at some point if the lower windows in that cafeteria had all opened, because that's another extremely hot, nuclear ventilation. Anyway, we can, go on to this.
And another question. For the auditorium, I know we had a significant decrease in the, initially it was in like mid 200s, right?
We had one quote for both, and I think it was around 180 for a company a year.
Okay.
And so
I thought it was significantly
Sean
more
Maroney
expensive.
is working on this and has various quotes.
I was just curious what the trend was, but no, I'm good, thank you.
When we, when an outside group uses our auditorium, is it free to them?
No, sometimes, but it's like,
Because I was just starting to think that, you know, like the sound system in the auditorium, you know, like that drama fund program in Sandwich that puts on 2 productions a year in our auditorium, they might start saying, you know what, to heck with this, the sound system's so bad, we're not going to do this, and we could lose revenue from some of these outside groups because we don't have this addressed. So I had reached out to Patty when I saw the packet and said, you know, is there a way to pull the sound out of the auditorium capital, you know, instead of doing 125, is there a way to just do the sound at 25,000 and get that upgraded as a higher priority item, for example? Because the current, I don't know what she's called, director?
Theater?
Yeah, production.
spring production.
Spring production advisor.
That was just something that she kind of grabbed me out in public. I was talking to her about that we had taken up capital improvements, and she said that she was really motivated to maybe do some fundraising to improve the sound system and, you know, trying to get it addressed sooner rather than later. So just share that so that everyone knows and not just Patty.
I think the group that you were talking about, they'll bring their own sound system as far as.
Oh, the drama fund does one. Yeah, they do. That's right.
Yeah. That's how they get around it. But I think your point's valid. I mean, the last theater production that I went to, run by the high school, it was very difficult to hear the kids.
Yeah.
So.
And the lights are, like what we brought up with last year's production of Little Mermaid. We had to bring in, the lights were flickering, it was a situation. We had to bring in some.
Yeah.
They would stay on the stage, like the week of the show.
Yeah. Anyway, I've beat this drum before, but I just think that
Split those, I think that's a good idea.
yeah, and I just think making it some type of an, you know, we've invested in technology, we've invested in security, we've invested in infrastructure. Let's invest a little in the arts. Like, we don't really talk about it very much, and it's a very small amount of money relative to the rest of our budget. So I'd just like to see us make some kind of contribution to you know, what we know is we have a lot of kids participating in this, and particularly if they're going to be shows that engage kids from multiple schools, which engages a broader base in our community, which means more people come into the auditorium to see them, and it's just, I think it's an easy win for the district, and I hope that we can do something about it.
And as I understand it, Mr. Funk, you can correct me, the annual revenue from building rental has to be spent. They don't carry that forward. That happens. At one point, she shared there was $17,000 in building rental, which they used for carpet. And sometimes it was the carpet in the auditorium as well. So sometimes I'd like to say, could that be just, you know, getting us the
Reinvested back
the
into
sound system that we want? But we don't always have input into how that's their decision.
Yeah.
So generally, when you look at this list, are you comfortable with this being what gets shared with the town?
I just have 2 questions. I believe the minimum is 25,000, right? So we have to up the MMHS cafeteria lighting. And the suggestion that I had made when we talked about this, the working group for the school kitchens, that was a 25,000 per year, not one time, to replace all the equipment.
Or 25,000 per year?
Or it could be 25,000 every other year, or 25, you know, but it's not
Yeah.
one time.
Yeah.
No, it's not a one-time.
Yeah.
I think that's not the way I presented it.
Thank you for your.
Anything else? So does anybody have any, it's start, I mean, I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
split the auditorium, make that correction.
Okay. Good.
They'll put the balance for it to be a
Oh, that they are.
Solid concrete was,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's, yeah, well, good with the drilling, and it's all construction
Yeah.
and drilling
they're probably not gonna
and
be
footings
cheap.
and metal poke,
The
yeah.
metal pole has to be drilled, took down and
Oh, they have to be close enough for a normal sized car.
Probably less than probably 6 feet max
Yeah.
apart.
The, thinking about that, there's a ramp, there's a cut in the curb there for the handicap cut.
I think that's farther over though, I don't think that's right.
No, it's in the middle, because I driven up it to
Is it?
deliver something.
Yeah, so it's right
They
there,
can block that.
the entrance you would go for a basketball game or playing.
Yeah.
So there's an ADA accessible ramp to be able to get on the
Well, those are
sidewalk.
typically no wider than 6 feet, correct? I mean, so you could just put one pole on either side of that. Correct? I mean,
Maybe let's not work this problem.
yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, we'll
Soldier for.
maybe
measure it out.
Move
You
shift
know-
that ramp.
One of the things to keep in mind, if it's a place that gets snowplowed, if it's a walkway, and you want to put those, you have to get the ones that you can pull out so that they can come in and plow.
that defeats the purpose.
Yeah, but if
No,
if it's right along the curb.
Yeah,
go
that's
on the
fine.
road, Then they can put the
They'll be-
little button.
But we are in the weeds, my friends.
Yes,
We are in the
noted.
Yeah,
weeds.
it's getting.
No, let's keep going.
Yeah, exactly. No. So,
I had to get my 2 cents in there.
All right, so the next item we already talked about. If anybody wants to reattack this, we can, but it's the Town of Mashpee budget calendar. We did talk about it during the budget segment, but if anybody has any other questions or comments or anything, we can just
That was
go
just a
ahead.
reference.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
If nobody has anything on that, we'll go on to the school committee upcoming dates and upcoming district events.
That's page 65 in terms of what affects you personally, and then the district events are on these 3 pages.
All right.
Have we determined what we're doing at Oktoberfest? Are we doing
That's on
something?
page 2 of the agenda.
It is?
Yeah. It's next.
Yeah, we got
On the
another.
agenda, it's new.
Oh, sorry.
Holy cow.
All right. Anything else on that? If not, now we'll move on to new business, which is Oktoberfest,
Which is the 29th.
29th of September.
Yes, the reindeers already. And we are going to use our pop-up tents at tables. What I envisioned was the schools have all created an informational brochure about each of the schools. And there's a District 1, and then there's the one on the Native Americans as well. Would be something to distribute. And we can also display some of the essays. The person who wrote about them.
Would there be any way to involve students in our booth at Oktoberfest? I was just thinking about, I don't know, either some fun projects or some, I mean, I like we could highlight the culinary program. We could highlight the, something like the Kiwanis kids. We could highlight the Honor Society. Like maybe we pick, and it would be great for us because we'd get to know some of the kids, and they would kind of help us out in the booth, and then they sort of become the face of the school with us.
We can check at different groups. I know that some of them already do, but I could see there being maybe dividing the day up and the robotics kids are there, or
Yeah.
the things that would provide something hands-on for kids.
Like maybe taking some of the stuff we talked about for the store, the We Are Mashpee, and sort of highlighting them at the booth, So, does the event start at 10 or does it start at noon? Okay, so I can be available for the morning, the front part of that. Are you going to send out a commitment? Commitment sign?
Yeah, we'll do that. Yes.
So we can all say when we're available.
But just based on the last event that we had, we need something to draw the people in, because they're just,
Well, that's why we're gonna use the kids.
That's what I mean, it's also that, you know, we're not sitting in the middle of the field by ourselves. I mean, it's a captive audience in Oktoberfest. They go from 10 to 10 on purpose.
Yeah.
We're gonna
People selling
Yeah.
things, and wines, that's the beer tent.
and make donuts or something.
And Jeff said he'll dress up as a scarecrow.
yeah,
Yeah, Mark's probably gonna be there, so we can't get ice cream.
Yeah.
can do that.
Gotta get some October. Maybe one of those little machines that makes a really small apple cider donut.
Or just.
Like the guy in front of Williams.
Mike's Donuts.
Enjoy.
Or just apple cider.
Or apple
Maybe
cider.
those little tiny
Yeah.
pumpkins that Ames can, you know. We can think of all kinds of
Could
stuff.
we give out apple cider? No, I can't do that Board of Health application again. Somebody else does it, yeah. But anyway,
We'll take the stuff,
I think
yeah.
we can maybe use the kids.
We
What
can
if-
get the kids there.
Yeah, maybe we can figure out, these fine people over here will make suggestions to us about what they think are good. And it would be great if we could have sort of something from each school, you know, throughout the day rather than just one thing, but that might be too much to ask.
Good. Anything else?
We'll add that to the admin meeting this week, so we can figure out.
Like Paul can, the Coombs kids can do like fitness or something
Sure
fun.
thing.
I don't know.
We're on it.
Like a fun run teaser, you know?
Fun run teaser.
Yeah. Promote the fun run.
And maybe we can get someone to
Yeah,
wear
on Monday.
a falcon costume.
Mm.
It won't be me.
No,
Medically banned from the.
Those would have to be done in shifts, because no one can do more than a short amount of time.
Right.
in those costumes. Probably 100 degrees. That's-
Are they still having the 10K that day too? The town? They always do like the 10K associated with
yeah. Yeah, the Chamber of Commerce, I think, does the sponsor.
the. Okay.
This is the first year in
Sorry.
a couple years that hasn't been on the holiday weekend. So,
Yeah, it's Oktoberfest in September. I'm
Yeah.
hoping for the rain date. We'll see what happens.
All right, does anybody have any
Rain date's
committee
next.
reports, subcommittees, or anything like that? No? George isn't here, he handles a lot of that. All right, nothing else, there's no more public comment, nobody else has come in, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Don, second by Jeff. Nicole?
Yes.
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 Yes, unanimous, thank you, everybody.